All right, everyone, what's up? I am starting here just a little bit early. We're going to get you caught up on all the crypto market news out there with an obvious focus on Stellar Lumens XLM and Ripple Labs' XRP. I've got the heat map up on the screen right now, and for the viewers that are watching, if you could, give me a sound check. Let me know if I got to pipe up the sound a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to hang out for this first half hour. We're going to talk crypto. We're going to go over the market. And again, the reason the markets are red right now, guaranteeing you they are pricing in Gary Gensler's negativity. Because remember, Gary Gensler is going to be testifying at the same time. And we know the stance that Gary Gensler has on crypto. He has been very, very anti-crypto. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. What's up, Vrigsilla? How is it going? Thank you for the sound check. And Anthony chiming in saying sound is good. Thank you much, Anthony. The big thing, though, that we're going to have to focus on today is, yes, we're going to be covering what Denelle Dixon is saying because, again, right, that's direct towards one of the cryptos we follow on this channel. But we're going to have to keep in mind, at the same time Gary Gensler talking, this might bring some more pain while we're doing the live stream, all right? So we're going to pay attention to both. We're going to hop back and forth from the heat map to the hearing with Denelle Dixon. I've got it on two screens right now. We are going redundancy mode, everyone, because I want you to have a great stream session today. And if you got questions and if you got comments, let's knock them out right now before the hearing, because when the hearing goes live, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover up the cam. I'm going to keep the mic going, though, so if anything cool happens, right, we're going to relay that. We're going to talk about that, but we're going to make it about the hearing. We're going to make it about chat, and we're going to make it about learning. We got more people chiming in, and of course, if you could, just chime in, say hello. Let me know, do you have any big concerns? My voice is still a little roasted because I just got back from my trip to Colorado, did some massive hiking exploration stuff out there, went with my doggy. So my throat's a little roasted because the air is so dry out there. We got Early Hairston chiming in, saying hello to you. Jimbo Tango from Ireland chiming in, watching. What's up, Jimbo? How are you doing? So we got a bunch of people watching. Again, any questions, comments that you have, let's get them done right now, because at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 29 minutes from now, we're going to hop in and we're going to be starting with the Denelle Dixon hearing with the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Senate Committee. All right, so now a broad look across the markets, guys. It's red. Today I don't even want to say might. I think today's going to be not the best day. Remember, Gary Gensler is set to be at, I think it's the Senate Banking Committee that Gary Gensler is on. He's going to be talking about that here in the next 28 minutes. The market is pre-pricing in his negativity right now. So just kind of, we're going to keep an eye on that as we go on through all of this news. All right, and we've got Eric's chiming in. What's up, Eric? How are you doing? And yes, I understand the pronunciation of the last name. With the first name, like Klaus Jurgen, I would understand. Eric chimes in and says, hi, Klaus. My biggest concern is the SEC having oversight of crypto, but I believe they will not. You know, that's a big concern for me as well. And I just released a video this morning about that, okay? And let's talk about that. So thank you for bringing that up, Eric. Right up on the screen right here, there is one called New Lawsuit. If you haven't seen it after this live stream, just take a quick look at this after it's done. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You guys know I don't waste your time. But the video that I did this morning that I released is about the SEC just has a brand new lawsuit that came out against a Chicago company that did an ICO in 2017 and 2018. And now, while I know it doesn't sound significant, but you got to think, everyone, this is 4 to 5 years ago. The SEC is just now starting to go after companies. So they're way behind. So think we've got years ahead of the SEC going after these companies. So what Eric is asking, is, hey, the SEC having oversight of crypto. I'm totally with you, because some of the biggest problems that we're hearing out there, okay? So industry insiders are talking. All right, there's a lot of background news being shared between certain media outlets, certain crypto companies. I'll share it with you. Okay, so here's what's happening. Crypto companies out there want to be regulated because they know the moment that they're regulated, the support of cash they can get from the institutional level money here in the United States and across most of the globe too would increase, right? The problem is these crypto companies, and this has been confirmed, all right? These crypto companies are asking the SEC for guidance. They're reaching out to the SEC saying, hey, we want to be on your good side, help us. And you know what's happening? The SEC is ignoring them. Yeah, and so that's the problem. So it's not just the overreach of the SEC right now that's going on. It's the SEC's unwillingness to actually have an open door policy to help these companies that are going, hey, we want to be legitimate, help us out. The SEC isn't even answering any of their requests. So we kind of have a double-edged sword here. So Eric, thank you very much for bringing that up. Yes, SEC oversight is a huge issue. Definitely check out this new lawsuit video. It kind of brings to light what we're talking here. SEC overreach, and we have many more years of SEC pain to come. All right, we got Daniel chiming in. What's up, Daniel? Have you heard Jed sold all of his XRP to build a space station, hence the name Stellar? Okay, so here's what's going on with Jed McCaleb. And again, right now, if you got questions, we're going to be talking about this stuff because as soon as Denelle Dixon goes live, we're going to bump on over to that feed here as she is testifying in front of the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Commission. But Daryl chimes in and says, have you heard Jed sold all his XRP to do a little bit of space exploration? All right, so here's the deal. Jed has a whole bunch of dreams. He is a dreamer as a person. These people that are dreamers, they're constantly wanting to do things. They never settle. They're never comfortable in one place. Okay, I'm fairly much in the same mindset like that. That's why I kind of understand the issue is I'm always constantly doing. Okay, so even myself, right? I retired like almost 4 years ago now. But I'm still doing stuff. Now I'm doing YouTube, right? And I'm doing other things. So it's really weird. Like, even when you try to shut down certain people, they just constantly have this drive. And that's kind of what you're seeing with Jed. Now, him selling his XRP, okay, to finance the space project, dude, that's just like someone selling, like a vacation home to finance a new business venture. They're just taking capital from one location to the next and using it for a project. Don't read anything in between the lines on any of that stuff. It's seriously, he's just taking an asset, dumping it. Now, if you do want to pay attention to something with Jed selling all his XRP, that's going to be a worthwhile story. Remember, the SEC and Sherman out in California, right? The congressman out there out in California said, hey, we should go after the secondaries market of XRP selling for securities violations as well, which would put Jed McCaleb in trouble because he has dumped how many billions of tokens on the secondary market? So that's the story I'm more interested in, is then will the SEC then on the next end start going after individuals on the secondary market, especially big public whales like this, because we can track Taco Stand, all right? That was the name of the wallet that Jed was using with his XRP holdings. So we could track this stuff. So the the SEC has all this information at hand. So it's an easy thing to piece together. So the big thing what we have to look forward to is not why Jed sold his XRP, because people sell their stuff all the time. I'm considering selling some of my assets to fund a new venture that I want to do. No harm with that. Don't read in between the lines. But will the SEC's overreach continue to secondaries market? The reason this is important, because this is a big concern that a bunch of you have out there. And in fact, like I said, I released a video this morning on it. It's got a picture of Gary Gensler. There's a new lawsuit, totally crazy stuff. When you get a chance, watch that. Not right now, because we're live streaming. Well, I guess you could watch it now, but make sure you come back in 23 minutes, because in 23 minutes, we're going to be hopping in to the live stream with Denelle Dixon, Ag, Nutrition, and Forestry. And why? Because agriculture is so important to me. Do you guys remember that song? That was actually a really, really good one. I used to live in the Dakotas in Iowa, so agriculture, huge part of my background as well. We got some more people chiming in. And again, if you have a question right now is the time to ask it, because when Denelle goes live, I'm going to shut up, unless something really cool and big breaks. I'm going to shut up and let us watch it, and we're going to swap on over to chat. So we got other people chiming in. Y is chiming in saying, hello, Klaus. Hello, Y. How are you doing? But the big concerns right now definitely is the SEC. Heat map up on the screen. And let's take just a broad look, all right? Because remember, as Denelle Dixon is live, So is Chairman Gary Gensler. He is testifying as well, and we know how anti-crypto he is. But you got Bitcoin right now struggling, holding 20,000, but just barely at 20,050. Ethereum, guys, come on now. What is going on? So the merge, right? The merge happened. Yep, it is official. It has happened. That was part of the video this morning I released too. But the merge happened. Hey, still down 1.15%. Why? Macroeconomic events right now, everyone, are what are making the markets move. So think Ethereum, right? The biggest project we have seen in the crypto space. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. The reason this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest of 2022, is because from this point forward, no one can go after Ethereum based on their energy usage. All right, and that was a big thing we saw from the Energy Committee was they were going after Bitcoin and Ethereum. And in fact, Ethereum, their yearly energy use is like that of like Netherlands, Singapore, countries of that size. So now that they went from proof of work to piece of shit, proof of stake, my bad, everyone. I'm going to mess this up as well. But what's happened is now that they've gone to proof of stake, they're 99.5% more energy efficient, which means now the global powers, right, the greenies out there, right, the green agenda, especially the far green agenda, they can't go after Ethereum for that. So think Ethereum's biggest project, which gets a huge section of regulation off of its back, didn't do a damn thing for its price, everyone. So when you're wondering, hey, why doesn't Stellar pop? Why doesn't XRP pop when these news events happen? That's because right now, the weighting of the market, the weighting of the money, right, that flows in and out, all has to do with macroeconomic events like inflation, like regulation, like the CPI data, like the Fed coming out here super soon, who's going to drop another massive rate hike, right? We're looking at this, the last CPI data report that came out, and I'm going to get to your questions, I'm seeing them now, but the last CPI data report that came out was another bad one. There was some in between the line stuff there that was really, really bad. Guys, housing. I know what you're saying, oh, the housing bubble's gonna pop. Yeah, well, guess what? As the prices drop, who's gonna be buying it? Private equity groups, which means they're gonna raise the price of rent. It is going to be crazy. Do not think that housing is going to crash the way you think. It's going to cool off. But remember, private equity has so much cash on the sideline, they're going to buy it up or drive it up on the price. But let's go now to your questions. Mary G21 says, are you going to show us Gary as well? I can't split screen both for you, Mary G. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking is based on what we're going to see on the heat map, that's going to tell me what Gary Gensler is saying. Because right now, the heat map is already pricing in Gary's negative comments, and all he has to do is make one remark on overreach, right? Just and not like a deliberate nasty overreach, but more of like an overreach, like an overstepping of bounds, right? Kind of like, well, hey, we're the SEC, we're the gold standard, we're going to tackle crypto, we're going to have crypto fixed within a year. If he starts saying stuff like that, watch the markets just tank. So that's why I got the heat map up on the screen. So no, I'm not going to be covering both. All right, let's see. Let's get back to more of your comments. Anthony Turner says, do you think the SEC will go after BNB? I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, the SEC is actually going after BNB. Their inquiry, though, I'm trying to think. Just hear me out here, because I did a story on this months and months and months ago. There's actually, I think right now I've counted up to 13 different ones that I can verify that the SEC is going after. I'm pretty sure BNB was gone after the SEC on the exchange level. Not as BNB as the security, but don't quote me on that, but I know they are involved with the SEC, but it was not like we're going after you lawsuit. This was more of like an inquiry, like a professionalism exchange, right? Except let's be professional exchange was a little bit more like SEC saying you better do this or we're going to shove something where it doesn't belong. Yoki J says, also, their gas fees are the same, so it was the greatest project. Yeah, Yoki J is talking about the ETH merge that went live. Guys, it didn't affect the price. It didn't. All it did, energy usage. If you hear any FUD out there about, oh my gosh, Ethereum's throughput is going to be awesome. Oh my gosh, Ethereum is going to be no. The only thing it did was change the energy worth, right? It's proof of work to proof of stake, right? It's mechanism that it does to validate. That's the only difference, and the difference is it took its energy consumption next to nothing, all right? That's the big story. The nice thing is, yes, gas fees did stay the same. So energy use goes down on the network, but gas fees stay the same. Let's see. Jose Koisku says, I thought Binance removed USDC and now they integrated with Stellar. What's going on? Okay, so here's what happened. So the reason Binance, and let me get a little swig of the old water here. All right, so Binance, right? Binance yanking USDC. It's now using its own token to be the backer of the pools, right? Of the liquidity in there. Proprietary move, everyone, right? Wouldn't you do the same thing? What do you do? Okay. Here's how it works. You go into a marketplace, right? And if you've got the cash and if you've got the capital, which Binance does, let's be real here, everyone. Binance has got the cash. But you go into a market and you underprice all your competitors, right? Just think about it. You underprice your competitors, and then what happens? You start stealing their business, right? You start taking business from firm A, B, C, D, E, right? So that's kind of what Binance is doing. They come in, they underprice it, and then what happens? Once they have enough market share, they can move things over to where they want. So now they're big enough to saying, hey, we're going to do and support something that supports us. We're going to go more on the B&B route to support our transactions rather than USDC. Now, that being said, USDC recently market cap wise, and let's just bring that up. So thank you very much for the question on there. USDC market cap wise has been suffering here as of late. I was looking at it last night, comparing it to obviously USDT. And look at this. You can see we've definitely pulled down here in market cap as of late, down to just above $50 billion for USDC. So now back on to the questions. Freakzilla said, did you know that ISO 20022 going live and Gary just playing games? When world regulation comes, Gary would not matter. If you're smart enough, you keep coin in a ledger. Yes, well put point here. Definitely keep things as secure as you can, because we not only have to worry about Gary Gensler, you guys, we still have to worry about the crypto contagion. Remember all the fear when Bitcoin first hit 20,000, right? When everyone was liquidating, right? When Ethereum was getting liquidated to the ground. You guys remember all that? Well, guess what happened? Bitcoin still hasn't gone up in price. We've just gotten used to it. We've gotten used to Bitcoin at 20,000. We've gotten used to Ethereum at 1,500. So don't think that we're in any less danger right now. It's just that we're getting used to it, right? The emotional fear part of it, right? The constant like, oh crap, it wears off on you. But technically speaking, the markets are still in super deep crap, because think of the liquidations, right? At Bitcoin at 20,000, there's not a lot of support. There's not a lot of inflows of money going in right now into the crypto space. So what's holding up the price is a very thin line of demand. All right, now on to the next questions. And Dom's checking in. What's up, Dom? How are you doing? Freakzilla chimes in. Plus the G20 meetings on October 12th and 13th, which means regulations in November with ISO 20022. Now remember, ISO is messaging, everyone. ISO just means standard of messaging. Things mean the same thing from this place to this place to this place to this place. ISO, the easiest way to explain it is this. It has nothing to do with actual moving money. It only has to do with the messaging that's done between banking, right? Between sender-receiver units, okay? For instance, what ISO 20022 does is this, and let's tie it into food. In the United States, if I say, hey, I'm going to eat some chips, I'm going to go get myself some potato chips. If I'm in the UK and I say, hey, I want to eat some chips, doesn't mean chips, does it? No, it means French fries. So what ISO does is it makes the word chips mean the same thing in every language. So when banks are talking to each other, sending money globally as an international standard, all their messages, all their functions mean the same thing. Before ISO 20022, each kind of bank system would have its own, own verbiage, its own language. So coding for bank A when it's sending money to bank B may not have matched up. That's when money got lost. That's when bad things happen. That's why the fees for a lot of these bank transfers were so high, because there wasn't a standard. All right, let's see. Paul Spears chiming in. Hey, Paul, thank you for the comment. I like this one. Paul Spears says, wouldn't it be awesome for the LBRY, LBC to have a win while Gensler is speaking? Oh my gosh, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Paul Spears, the LBRY case is very interesting because that has to do with securities. Okay, so this is the LBRY case in a nutshell. Pokemon card, all right? So I'm a big Pokemon fan, all right? Now, I buy Pokemon. My son and I like the game. I also like card collecting. Now, sometimes I buy Pokemon cards because I think, hey, if I buy this one and it's a PSA 10, I could sell it 15, 20 years down the road for more. Okay, cool, right? But my son and a whole bunch of other people out there, they just buy them to collect them. Kind of like baseball cards, when we were kids. So now, because I, or maybe 0.1% of the population out there buys Pokemon cards thinking I'll make money on it, should Pokemon cards be deemed as security? See, that's what the SEC is saying with the LBRY case that they're going after right now. They're saying, hey, if just a small fraction of the population out there is using this as a security, boom, it's deemed a security. That would also mean that people out there, right? So real, right? If you wear gold jewelry, right? Thin chains, anything like that, right? So now would gold then be a security because some people are buying gold knowing that if they hold it, they're going to make more later? So you got to be real careful. That's why the LBRY case is so big. Digital Trapper saying Santa, yes, I was always called Santa Claus as a kid. I was picked on, but I quickly learned that if a girl ever said it to me, I was like, yes, you are willing to sit on Santa Claus's lap and tell me what you want. So yeah, I always found a way around that. Mary G 2021, and what's up Twitch Radio saying hi, and again, big shout out to Twitch Radio. Twitch provided the motivation, the inspiration for that emotion video that I talked about. So big thank you to Twitch Radio. Mary G 21 says, I think Ripple and the SEC is working together, backdoors. I mean, look at Raj, Kim Kardashian. Who would have thought they were working together for a well, that's thank you. Yeah, Ray J, thank you very much for bringing that up, because you're right. Sometimes collabs come from the strangest of places. How you could tie in Kim K to Gary Gensler in crypto is beyond me, but you did it, and you did a damn good job at doing it. Let's see. Dom says USDC is getting more value. Binance wrapping it up. Now, here's the thing we got to look for, all right, with Binance. BNB still struggling. They really struggle to hold that 300 plus. So just kind of throwing it out there, all right? They're really struggling with that 300 support. All right, now let's see. Twitch Radio chimes in. What's going to make money for Ethereum is those layer 2s are going to speed it up tremendously. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Right now, where Ethereum was at is layer 2 stuff. The layer 2 protocols are the best, like all the dApps and stuff. Like seriously, layer 2 is where it's at for Ethereum. I totally agree with you. Let's see, Crypto Ninja chiming in saying, hey guys, yeah, hello to you too. Oh baby, I like it raw. Oh my gosh. Oh baby, I like it raw. What's up? Oh baby, I like it raw says, Klaus, we got to do some card live streams. Hobby needs good content. Good point. We do need some, because I loaded up on a bunch of cards. Maybe I'll do that. What do you guys think? Do you think we should do like a Friday hangout live stream? Maybe we talk a little crypto, we drink a little bit, we share some stories. For those of you that don't know, this is where I was just like a few days ago. I had to come home because my doggy got hurt. But welcome to the beautiful state of Colorado. Oh yes, I was in the middle of nowhere, loving it out there. And the reason, the highlight, big reason why I was there was because of this, and let me get you a really good picture. That is because my doggy and I made it to the top of Handy's Peak, 14,058 feet. She did get injured in this hike, which kind of sucks. We had to cut our trip home early. We ran into an avalanche section. We did a little bit of off-tracking, off-trail movement, and we got into this avalanche section, which just destroyed her paws. It was real rough, but we did it. We made it to the top. Totally awesome stuff. Twitch Radio chimes in, says, if your Pokemon cards are security, then that's my bullet. Yeah, I'm with you. Dom says, Denelle, Dixon, and Gensler speak at the same time. Is something happening? Yes. Okay, Dom, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to catch you up on everyone what is going on right now. Okay, so we've got two big things going on right now. We've got Denelle Dixon, who is going to be part of the panel that's going to be talking in front of the Agricultural, Nutrition, and Forestry Department. And remember, who else has been in front of Congress as a crypto company 2 times now? And let's be real here. The reason she's in front of here is to showcase for a good reason. She's not here to be head just chopped. Nope. This is for positive. The reason they're bringing here is to highlight the positivity of Stellar. Stellar does have some government connections because of its roots in California. So yes, we've got that. And then at the same time, we have Gary Gensler talking in the Senate Banking Committee. And that's why you're seeing the markets right now priced down, is because, oh crap, right? We're looking at this going, hey, what is Gary going to say? All right, so let's see right now. Mary G chimes in, says, if that's the case, sneakers are also security because some people buy them to resell. And everyone listening, that's what we've been talking about this morning leading up to the event with Denelle and the committee. We've been talking about some of your biggest concerns, but right now and that's why the SEC versus LBRY case is so big, because they're essentially saying, hey, even if 1%, 0.1% of someone buys this Pokemon cards with the hopes that it goes up in value in 20 years, if 0.1% buy this, the whole thing's a security. That makes Pokemon card security, your Air Ones, right? Your Jordans, right? Your Air Force Ones, let's talk about those, right? Those would then be a security. What about baseball tickets, guys? I sometimes buy baseball tickets and I'm like, well, hey, if a team's going to be hot at the end of the season, I'm going to flip them. Okay, so then now our baseball ticket securities. Interesting point, and I'm glad you guys are bringing it up. It means you're watching the videos and you guys are kicking massive A word. Shit's Gnarly says, I hear a lot about Stellar expansion. From what I understand, MoneyGram, etc. doesn't utilize the token XLM. Any confirmed entities can actually utilize the XLM token, not just the B chain. Yes, that is what we have seen. Right now, the biggest thing that the Stellar chain needs is a program that directly uses Lumens. Now it has that with Lightmint, its NFT platform. And don't laugh. Lightmint NFT platform, if you've seen their growth charts, it's through the roof. While every other NFT platform is crashing, the Lightmint one is just freaking blowing up. Now, what's awesome about that is, remember, Lightmint directly uses the Lumens, right? That's how you're buying, moving, and all the stuff on there. Great project. But what we need is a payment system very similar to Ripple Labs' ODL that uses the Lumen as not just the transfer mechanism, but the currency, the digital currency that itself is actually moving. Let's see, Twitch Radio says money I collected too. Yeah, that's right. There's so many things can be made as securities. Roaring Wookie says they're gonna make time a security. They better not make time a security, because there's two things I tell people not to F with me. That is, number one, don't mess with my time, and don't mess with my money. All right. Day for Day says, have you been to Horsetooth? No, I have not been to Horsetooth. I hang out in Sangre de Cristo. I hang out, obviously you could see I hang out like Red Cloud, Sunshine, Cooper Lake. That's kind of my area, and I like the western part. So yeah, this is what my dog and I did. We were out there climbing 14ers in Colorado. So if you're wondering what I do in my free time when I'm not doing crypto stuff, this is what I do. I go into places that most people don't want to, and I have a bunch of fun. But enough of this. Let's get back to the old heat map here real quick here. All right, so it says, Jose says, Tidemail and Stellar partnership, no confirmation. Oh, baby, I like it. Ross says, got my first order coming back since the shutdown, 75-day turnaround, been sending stuff at 50. Yeah, it's the problem is, oh, baby, I like it raw. It's what they're charging right now. For those of you that don't know, it's PSA stuff, guys. They're charging way too much. I think I saw bulk orders the last time I checked was like $30, guys. $30 a card. It was freaking crazy. What's up, Patrick? Saying hi back to you. Purses. Oh my God, JVR said purses and handbags. Yes, yet another thing that could be classified as a security based on how Gary Gensler and the SEC are enforcing it. JVR, rock on. Thank you for sharing that. Trey Trillionaire chiming in for us. Hey, what's up, Trey Trillionaire? How are you doing? And for those of you that don't know, Trey Trillionaire hangs out with us only while he's at work, because that's the only place he gets good enough internet connection to watch the show. So huge thank you, as Trey does an awesome job. Thank you much. International viewer as well. Funky Fresh 707, what's up? Chiming in as well, thinking crypto just had a good interview with MoneyGram. I got to check that out. Ooh, R3D Games says, today I buy more XLM and XRP. Today might be a buying app. If Gensler comes out and says something dumb, everyone, this might be a buying op. And in 3 minutes, we are going to have the Denelle Dixon going on. The live player here is getting ready to be fired up, everyone. Waiting for her to go live here in just about 3 minutes. We're going to get to the last couple questions here, and then we're going to see what's going on. All right, any stats on the MoneyGram XLM partnership? You know, Trey, I got to dig deeper into that. Really, really important. I do. I want to see more usage stats on that. I've been digging more into Stellar Network lately. Trades, guys. Trades have been fueling the beast right now on the Stellar chain. So that's kind of where the movement is, but we got to dig deeper into MoneyGram. Guys, look for Meridian 2022. Look for more. Look for more. Now remember, MoneyGram utilizes wallet services rather than network services. Let's see. Roaring Rookie said water. Yeah, water could be deemed as security too, according to the SEC. Holy crap. Let's see. Dom says, I love what Library and Garlinghouse said about the ETH merge. Dom, what specifically did this? I haven't caught up yet. I got up this morning, I started prepping for the live stream, so I didn't hear what they said directly about the ETH merge. So if you don't mind, Dom, sharing that with us. And again, as soon as Denelle Dixon goes live and they fire up the thing, we're going to switch it to you, and then I'm going to hop on chat, all right? So keep the support coming, keep the likes coming, share this with other crypto friends out there, because you guys know what happens when these things go live. Number one hardly covers them. And then number two, here is the worst part, all right? The worst part is they always turn off the chats. Well, guess what? We are not going to be turning off the chat. We're going to be leaving the chat on so that you guys can share your thoughts with me and the rest of the viewers out there. Crypto Ninja says, Klaus, thoughts on Quant, bro? Thanks for getting in the late time question. Big fan. Big fan of Quant, but again, I need to see more use case. Quant falls in very much to like your micro ISOs, okay? And not that Stellar is a micro ISO, but I'm kind of going to clump it in that way, and here's why. We need to start seeing more use case that helps people, right? More real use case. Okay, remember, crypto is made to help the unbanked and underbanked. So why is it that when we look back on El Salvador a year from now, no one's using their damn program? Now, granted, they screwed up because they used Bitcoin, and the IMF told them, hey, don't use Bitcoin, that was stupid of you. You know? So I guess with me, what I'm looking at is I just need to see more use. I need to see more real-life projects coming in that actually help people. All right? Because right now, who's playing in the crypto world? It's the people that are already banked, the people that already have access to all of this stuff. But once we get the people that this is intended for to use it, which is going to be a cultural problem, not a technological problem, everyone. This is going to be a cultural problem. You have to somehow convince the unbanked, right, that held cash, that now your cash is somehow in this device. You have to now bypass the trust of banks, and you have to trust your phone. That's a very hard cultural sell, and I am now officially in the deepest amount of crap because Lucy B chimes in. What's up, Lucy? How are you doing, lady? Roaring Rookie says, Quant is a thoroughbred. Dom chiming in, saying they were both very sarcastic, saying they're a complete finished protocol as of 14 and was never bought by anyone for an investment purpose. Yeah, okay, good point. Yeah. So ETH, why is ETH getting the pass? Right? So you're telling me that no one out there with ETH bought it thinking they would make money on it. Okay, and that's the whole problem. Oh, what about Bitcoin? I don't care how decentralized, how anonymous, any of that crap. If one person, according to the SEC, if one person buys Bitcoin for the sole purpose of buying it to make money on it, all right, then that right there, okay, that right there is deeming it a security. All right, and here we go. We got a little fresh screen coming up on here. They're going to be starting any time here. Let me get this going. Hey-o. I'm trying to go live, guys. All right, so I got this refresh. They should be starting it here anytime. As soon as they do, I'm going to fire down the mic, and then we're going to be going in. Lucy B, driving from Texas back to Florida, listen in. Thank you very much, Lucy, for listening in while driving. But anyways, yeah, so back to the Ethereum thing. Think if one person bought Ethereum or Bitcoin with the sole purpose of making money on it, then you know what? Boom. That is a security according to Gary Gensler and the SEC. But here's the whole thing. Gary Gensler goes out there and says ETH and Bitcoin aren't securities. Well, then what are you doing with the LBRY case? See, that's what we got to pay attention to. XRP for me says, thanks for streaming the hearing. No problem. I like sharing this information with you. I like giving out information out there so that people can see what is going on. And I keep refreshing their page, waiting for them to talk. We're waiting here. It says coverage begins momentarily. They got a little bit of a delay. Yes, we got live on live, Rob. That's how we do it here. But the big difference, Rob, is I allow comments on my streams. And I'm going to be interacting with you guys because I know on all of these out here, they never allow comments. and we're going to knock out integrated service player. Going to be keep refreshing this here, waiting for them to go live. As soon as it does, we will go live. I'll kill my mic here, I'll kill my camera, but I'll be active on the chats, all right? I will be active on the chats here with you, and if something big comes in, I'll hop on the mic real quick and we'll discuss it super fast. Let's see. Numbers are climbing. Klaus, your voice is making a breakout. Well, thank you, Roaring Wookie. Hey, yeah, we got 105 people right now on the stream. This is great. Love the support from you guys. The channel has been growing, and oh my gosh, I am so glad to be a provider of content to you. Stephen Wayne says, I'm in Key West, Florida. So nice. Great fishing out there. I've always wanted to be in the Keys. That is like total bucket list for me. Tarpon fishing in the Keys, that's where it's at. Justin C says, love the vids. Thank you, Justin. Y says, thanks. Thank you, you two, for watching. We're just waiting for them to go live. I keep hitting the refresh button. We're waiting. This is coverage begins momentarily. Maybe they're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. I don't know. Ooh. Here we go. It's happening here, guys. We're going to go switch the mic off as soon as we get the sound feed. And that's the other thing, too, is when the sound switches to the hearing, if you could, let me know how the sound sounds for the hearing. Stephen Wayne chimes in, watch all your videos. Klaus, well, thanks, Stephen, and thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for being part of the channel. What about large halibut? Yeah, I can do large halibut, but I've got that already here where I live in South Carolina. But I don't, well, we do see some tarpon here. It's very rare, but we do see some tarpon where I'm at, or where I fish in South Carolina. But all right, let's see. Paul Spear says, I'm already watching it on Fox Business.
Good morning.
Here we go. Switching this off, guys.
Hearing to order of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. So pleased to see all of our colleagues here for this really important hearing and discussion. We're here today because a rapidly increasing number of Americans are investing in cryptocurrencies. Yet there's no federal oversight over the tokens that make up the majority of this market. And just as quickly as these assets have risen in popularity, we have seen their value drop. As a result, hardworking Americans have lost billions of dollars they used to support their families, keep roofs over their head, and nestle away for hard-earned retirement. In the past few months alone, numerous companies have gone bankrupt, and the value of some widely traded coins has dwindled to cents on the dollar. Meanwhile, $1.9 billion worth of cryptocurrency was stolen in hacks in the first 7 months of this year alone, up 60% from this time last year. At the same time, it's important to recognize that cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology offer an alternative to using large financial institutions. 1/3 of Americans who have bought or traded crypto earn less than $60,000 a year. Some of whom lack trust in these institutions or find them too costly. They simply cannot afford, though, to lose their savings because of a lack of guardrails in these markets. And that's where we come in our responsibility as overseeing federal regulators. We need to have clear, consistent rules of the road that allow good actors to innovate and grow while first and foremost keeping customers safe. As the committee with oversight over one of our nation's 2 market regulators, it's our job to ensure that we bring the necessary protections to this marketplace. Together with my partner, Senator Boozman, and with colleagues, Senator Booker, Thune, Ernst, and Gillibrand, we have introduced the Digital Commodities Customer Protection Act. This bill gives the Commodity Futures Trading Commission oversight over digital assets that act like commodities, such as Bitcoin and Ether, that currently have no federal oversight.
Total bullshit move there, saying that Ethereum and Bitcoin are commodities. Total BS move, guys. This is going to be a rough hearing. Let's get back to it.
Commodity platforms register with the CFTC. This will set a uniform national standard and allow the CFTC to catch fraud before it happens. As its name suggests, our bill is focused on consumer protection. It will require that platforms segregate and safeguard customer assets hold sufficient capital, and abide by rigorous cybersecurity standards. It will eliminate many of the conflicts of interest in this market. And it will mandate that platforms speak truthfully about the risks of trading digital commodities and don't engage.
Every once in a while, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to the heat map because I'm going to see if Gensler's comments or comments from this committee are going to move the price. Her opening comments have been very harsh. Let's get back to it.
Setting the global standard. Our nation's derivatives markets have been a mainstay for our producers during recent supply chain disruptions and elevated commodity prices. We'll hear today from Chairman Benham shortly about how the CFTC has been a leader in policing the crypto markets for fraud and abuse. And this week, we received a letter from former Republican CFTC Chairman Christopher Giancarlo expressing his support for the bipartisan bill. And without objection, I would enter this into the record. So ordered. This bill also gives the agency additional resources to get this job done right, which is so important. Finally, it recognizes that other financial agencies have critical roles to play in regulating digital assets, also important. I'm pleased to see Chairman Gensler's recent comments about how the CFTC and SEC can work together to make this market work, just as we did in putting together Dodd-Frank. And we've had productive discussions with SEC staff about the bill, which we appreciate and will continue. As President Biden has recognized, this is a big responsibility with a lot at stake, and it's going to take all of us at the table working together. At our table today will be some of the brightest leaders in this space, and I look forward to hearing from each of you on how we can continue to bring transparency and accountability to this marketplace, while still enabling the innovation that makes this technology so promising. I'd like to turn now to my colleague and partner, Senator Bozeman, for his opening remarks.
Well, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and it's great to be with you today as we examine S4760, the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. This bill, which I'm proud to co-sponsor with the chairwoman as well as Senators Thune and Booker, will bring much-needed regulatory certainty to the growing digital commodity ecosystem. As this industry continues to grow, questions remain about the proper role federal regulators will play. I believe regulation must ensure market integrity and consumer protection while also fostering an environment that encourages innovation. I believe our bill gives the CFTC the authority to do just those things. Currently, the digital asset spot or cash markets are subject to a patchwork of regulations at the state and the federal level. This is simply inadequate from market structure and consumer protection perspectives. It's without question that digital commodities and related technologies will continue to play an important role in the global economy for decades to come. As a result, now's the time to provide regulatory certainty to the market and create a framework that makes sense from both a domestic and an international perspective. It's imperative that both Congress and regulators work with industry and consumer advocates to ensure the laws and regulations for market participants are created through a transparent process that results in a clearly understood set of rules. Anything less hurts everyone. Regulation by enforcement without any meaningful engagement with market participants is no way to police the industry. It's unfair to stakeholders who operate in good faith, but are then punished because they haven't been given clear rules of the road. Ultimately, this committee's goal is to establish a framework that allows industry to innovate and grow while providing the CFTC the resources necessary to write and enforce rules that protect consumers and provide retail participants the ability to fully understand the functions of the commodities they are buying and selling. I hope today's hearings provides an opportunity for both Chairman Benham and our esteemed panel of stakeholders to weigh in on the most important features of our bill, including constructive recommendations to improve the bill as we look forward toward a committee markup in the near future. In closing, I'm confident the CFTC can rise to the challenge to be the right fit for an expanded regulatory role in the digital commodity spot market, and I'm confident that we can work together to protect consumers and allow this ever-growing technology to flourish. I want to thank Chairwoman Stabenow for her leadership and look forward to today's discussion and hearing from our witnesses. Before I conclude, I would like to welcome one staffer to the committee and then thank another staffer who will be leaving shortly. First, I would like to welcome Erica Shabbat. Erica is the new Majority Staff Director for Chairwoman Stabenow, but is certainly no stranger to the Senate. For the last 20 years, she served as Senator Leahy, a member and former chairman of this subcommittee, or this committee, which who we all know and are going to miss as he retires. But we really look forward to Erica and look forward to her service to the committee. Secondly, I would like to thank Darren Gurries of my staff for his exceptional service to the Senate and committee. Darren is a native Kansan and has spent the last 15 years working for the Senate. For the last 7, he's worked for the Agricultural Committee, first for Senator Roberts and now for me. The legislation that we're discussing today is largely the product of bipartisan negotiations led by Darren and Lucy, working hand in hand to, I think, produce a very, very good product. The committee and the Senate have greatly benefited from Darren's expertise, judgment, and charm. We will miss Darren as he leaves the Senate. I wish him great success and many thanks for his service. And we're trying not to be bitter over the people that have hired him, but it's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, Senator Bozer, and thank you so much for recognizing Erica. We're so pleased to have her here. Welcome, welcome. And Darren may think he's leaving, but actually, I think we're not going to let.
Now, real quick, while this old lady here is just gabbing away doing worthless stuff, it's interesting to note that right off the bat, they said that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. That is a very, very rough start here. That's why they said, hey, the CFTC needs to get into this. They said Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities, a huge knock for the rest of the crypto world. Now, just jumping real quick into the heat map, we have Bitcoin 20,130, Ethereum 1585 for but Gary Gensler is talking at the same time. Let's get back to it.
Benham has served as a commissioner. He served since 2017 on the commission, and prior to that was a valuable member of our staff on the Agriculture Committee. So welcome, Chairman Benham, and we recognize you for 5 minutes of testimony.
Thank you. Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and members of the committee, appreciate the opportunity to be here before you today to discuss the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. Last February, when I testified before this committee, I noted that the unique characteristics of the growing digital asset industry necessitated a comprehensive federal regulatory regime. I believe that to be more true today, and thank the committee for taking steps to address these needs through the DCCPA. I have directed staff at the CFTC to analyze what additional needs we would have to support its implementation. Digital asset commodity cash markets have significant speculative retail participation, often use high levels of leverage, and largely rely on platform-based custody arrangements outside of the traditional regulated banking sector. Market participants may perceive themselves to be interacting with exchanges and intermediaries regulated like those in other traditional financial markets, but the reality is quite different. Since I last testified, over $1 trillion in market value has been lost in conjunction with the failure of several large, high-profile firms operating in the shadows. One lesson is that leverage, interconnected markets, and contagion can wreak the same havoc in the digital asset ecosystem that they do in our traditional financial markets. As I have publicly stated several times, including to this committee, many digital assets constitute commodities. As recognized by the DCCPA, the CFTC's expertise and experience make it the right regulator for the digital asset commodity market. The CFTC facilitates customer protections through its principles-based market oversight and disclosure regime aimed at ensuring transparency, integrity, and security of transactions. These structures inform customers about who they are dealing with and provide clarity on the risks of participating in our markets. In requiring digital commodity brokers, dealers, and custodians to join a registered futures association, the DCCPA acknowledges the key role that self-regulatory organizations, like the National Futures Association, play in safeguarding the integrity of markets. The CFTC has often adapted its oversight capabilities to meet the demands of evolving markets. Most notably, in the wake of 2008 financial crisis, Congress provided the CFTC authority over approximately 95% of the swaps market, serving as the cornerstone of a robust regulatory regime for the $350 trillion swaps market. Returning to the digital asset market, since 2014, the CFTC has brought almost 60 enforcement cases, including a recent matter involving a $1.7 billion fraudulent Bitcoin scheme. With a lack of full visibility into the digital commodity asset market, the agency's enforcement program has had to lean primarily on tips and complaints from the public to identify fraud and manipulation. The agency has developed a deep understanding of this novel market and the underlying innovations that fuel it, hiring specialists, forming internal task forces and working groups, leveraging public-private partnerships, and most recently restructuring the CFTC's Financial Technology Hub into the Office of Technology Innovation. The DCCPA leverages the historical strength of the CFTC as a market regulator by requiring registration and supervision of digital commodity platforms and digital commodity intermediaries, as is required in CFTC-regulated derivatives markets. Digital commodity facilities will be subject to compliance with core principles, prescribing, among other things, that the platforms establish and enforce rules minimizing conflicts of interest, prohibiting abusive trade practices, establishing system safeguards to minimize cybersecurity and other operational risks, ensuring the financial integrity of transactions and intermediaries, and protecting customer funds. Critically, all digital commodity platforms must maintain adequate financial, operational, and managerial resources, segregate customer funds, and comply with commission requirements for the treatment of customer assets. These tools have proven effective in preserving customer funds and market operations in times of instability, uncertainty, or market misconduct. The DCCPA directly addresses the increased role of retail participants in the digital commodity asset markets by directing the Commission to adopt customer protection rules requiring digital commodity platforms to disclose to customers material conflicts of interest and material risks of trading digital commodities, establishing duties to communicate in a fair and balanced manner, and establishing standards for the platform's marketing and advertising. With the additional resources contemplated by the funding mechanism in the bill and a clear mandate for customer education and outreach to ensure that our efforts reach all demographics, the CFTC can swiftly effectuate this new regime. On September 21st, 1922, nearly 100 years ago to the day, the Grain Futures Act of 1922 was signed into law, which led to the near immediate establishment of the then CFTC. With that legislative accomplishment, this committee and the Congress swiftly responded to a policy need that arose on the heels of emerging risks to American consumers because of then new financial markets and products, technological innovation, and the promise of economic development. With the CFTC's rich history overseeing commodity markets, coupled with its expertise and track record, which rests on a firm foundation as a forceful and disciplined cop on the beat, the agency stands ready to tackle these new risks and opportunities 1 century later. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you've indicated, and I've spoken about as well, cryptocurrencies are traded largely by everyday Americans right now. And some people have voiced concern that the CFTC does not have a customer protection mandate and therefore may not have the tools that you need to protect these retail customers. Could you respond to that?
Thank you, Senator. Before I get into any details, I would say unequivocally the Commodity Exchange Act, and the rules that the Commission promulgates from the law directly support customer protections, full stop and without question. And thinking about the layers, because I think there are several layers to the customer protection regime at the CFTC, I think it's important to identify each. At the sort of foundational level is the law itself and the rules that we implement, which are more prescriptive.
Now, real quick here, I wanted to jump in while he was talking. Some big distinctions already that have come right off the bat is, number one, Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. Makes no sense because according to Gary Gensler in the SEC versus the LBRY case, anything that is ever used for a speculative reason is a security. So total double standard here. I just wanted to bring that up. So far the big one right now is that the CFTC says Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. That does not bode well for the rest of the crypto market. Let's get back to it.
Flow that comes to the agency so that we can monitor, for example, disruptive trading practices and making sure that the market is free from fraud and manipulation. Also, prohibiting contracts being listed on trading platforms that are readily susceptible to manipulation. These are just a few of the nearly 24 core principles which make up the regime and ultimately are manifested through the rules we prescribe.
And real quick, he brought up manipulation, right? And that's kind of one of the big knocks. And that's one of the reasons why they're not approving the spot Bitcoin ETF is one of the big things they say is, hey, we can't approve any of this stuff for the market is because of manipulation. Well, guess what, everyone? Do you guys remember when the whole GameStop thing was happening? Do you remember when exchanges were stopping you from selling? You could buy. Oh, you could buy, but you couldn't sell. Think about that kind of stuff. There's manipulation like crazy in the stock market. I have shown you over the last several months that markets are pricing in CPI data early and that there is definitely insider trading going on. So we're hearing double standards left and right with this hearing. Let's get back to it.
Civil litigator. Within our agency, and Chairwoman, you know this, we've struggled with funding over the past decade or so, and I've looked at some data points. In the past 10 fiscal years, our average budget has just been over $240 million per year. In that same period, this 10-year period, the Division of Enforcement has assessed penalties on average of over $1.5 billion per year. So a 6 times plus return on investment for the American taxpayer in enforcement penalties. A few months ago, I had the privilege of standing next to the Attorney General as he announced settlement with one of the largest commodity trading advisors that had manipulated oil markets. This was a civil and criminal case brought by Justice and the CFTC, over $1 billion. And in this time, we need to ensure our energy markets are free of fraud and manipulation. That case was brought by the CFTC. LIBOR, a benchmark, a financial benchmark which underpins trillions of dollars of financial contracts, student loans, mortgages, over 10 years ago was found to be fraudulent. The setting standard for setting the benchmark itself, which is in these trillions of dollars of financial contracts, was manipulated. Billions of dollars of fines assessed against financial institutions across the globe. That case was uncovered just downtown at the CFTC. So these are some examples of the work we do, from the rule set and the implementation, the law.
Please make sure you hit that like button, share this with anyone interested in crypto because these are the events that affect the entire crypto market. Guys, the support is great. We've got 173 people on the stream. Let's keep it going because we know Denelle Dixon will be coming up soon.
Above creditors and above security holders. So this, in total, I think is a very robust, very comprehensive customer protection regime. Has worked in our derivatives markets very well for decades, and I think as you contemplate in your bill, will work as well in the digital commodity market.
Let me just ask one other question. Thank you so much. The President's talked about a whole of government response to the regulation of digital assets and this new innovation. Take just a moment about how you would move forward in working. Obviously, two very important agencies, CFTC, SEC. Again, we did it in Dodd-Frank. We've got, two great regulators. Just speak about, as you move forward in this space, how you'll craft your regulations and how you see working together.
Chairwoman, it's not going to be any different than what we've done before, and you alluded to it, whether it was 2010 with Dodd-Frank or even going back 40 years with security futures and commodity futures. We are constantly talking at the highest level, the chair, enforcement, the different divisions. We naturally have intersections between our markets. We have duly registered entities, whether it's the intermediaries, the broker-dealers, and the FCMs, or the investment managers. We have to work together to make this work, because otherwise the markets wouldn't work like they should and like they're intended. So we have a long history of this. I don't think we need to try to fix something that's working right now. And I think it's all about communication, transparency, and understanding at a high level what the goal is, right? This is not about us at the CFTC. It's not about the SEC. It's about the regulatory framework. It's about financial markets. It's about protecting customers. And if we keep that goal in mind, I think we'll be able to accomplish what we're tasked with.
Thank you very much. Senator Boozman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate your question concerning enforcement. That's one of the things that comes up in regard to the bill. Does the CFTC have the ability, are they a strong enough enforcer? And I think you answered that question very, very well, explaining your role and the great job that you're doing with the resources that you have and punching so far above your weight. And yet, while still protecting the customer, while still enabling innovation. So again, thank you for, a great response in that regard. Another thing that comes up is user fees on derivatives, market activities. And I had the opportunity, I've been on the subcommittee on appropriations that has to do with that, and really champion efforts to make clear that the CFTC.
All right, user fees on derivatives. Seriously, Boozman, do not waste my time with this crap. How can we be talking about derivatives when yet we right now cannot define the difference between a commodity and a security? You have the CFTC and the SEC that are not working together. They are not making clear distinctions on what a commodity or security is. So no, Boozman, do not ask about the costs of derivatives, because right now that is such a minuscule point when we still don't have a definition of what is happening at the top. Now, real quick, let's get to the heat map. All right, so remember, we have Gary Gensler talking at the same time. We have Bitcoin right now barely holding on to 20,000, everyone. Bitcoin 20,052. Ethereum getting some pain. And remember, the ETH merge went live today. That did crap for the price. ETH down right now 1.75%, 1570. Let's get back to the hearing, everyone.
I also want to thank you and your staff. They've done a very, very good job in providing technical assistance, not only with this bill, but again, just through the many years that we worked with them. One of the suggestions we've heard from numerous industry stakeholders is about the definition of dealer. Because our bill is intended to protect retail consumers, it's not our intent to cover proprietary trading firms who invest only for their own accounts to be covered under the definition of dealer. As currently written, do you believe our legislation covers this kind of non-retail consumer-facing market activity?
Senator, good question, and I think I agree with you in principle that we're trying to focus on retail customers. And in this case, yes, the principal trading firms, or the prop traders, as they're more commonly known, would be exempt from the dealer definition, and that's consistent with what the Act and this committee and the Commission have done with respect to traditional swap dealers. So that's my interpretation, and I think it's drafted appropriately to create that carve-out for proprietary traders.
Very good. Well, I think I'm going to yield back my time in the interest of getting all of the questions. We appreciate your answers. As an old staffer, you understand the importance of actually answering questions. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Boozman. Since I went over a few moments, I think we're now back to even. So thank you very much for that. I will now turn to Senator Klobuchar, and then I believe Senator Ernst will be here shortly, and she would be next. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. And thank you as well, Senator Bozeman. Chairman, I think we've talked about this before. I appreciated you visiting my office as well. As you mentioned in your testimony, these are volatile markets. I think we all saw that big time when we saw that when digital currencies were approaching their highest values and the companies were spending all the millions on the, maybe even more, on the celebrity endorsements. I think we all saw the Super Bowl ads. Many first-time buyers were convinced to invest just in time for the market to crash. And there are people that are trading on these unregulated platforms that they may not even.
Okay, I gotta say something about this, all right? She's talking about the whole, Matt Damon, fortune favors the brave thing, all right? Now, hear me out. I get it, right? So they did the advertising right before the market crashed. A bunch of people got burned. I get that. But you have no problem with me going to a strip club with $100,000 in my pocket and making it rain on those ladies. You have no problem with me just $100,000. I know I'm not going to get anything back. You guys know the deal, right? Even in the champagne room, you're not getting anything back. $100,000, all right? So I can spend that $100,000, just blow it into the wind at a strip club. But you are so worried about me losing $2,000 on a Bitcoin investment? Like, come on, this is seriously, what these government officials think they're protecting us from is a total double standard joke. I didn't mean to interject, but when she brought up the whole Bitcoin thing, the whole fortune favors the brave with Matt Damon, you guys have no problems with us buying tons of booze. You have no problems with me buying a Ferrari that's $250,000, and the moment I drive it off the lot, it drops 50% in value. This is a public demonstration of double standards by the United States government. Hit that like button, share it with people out there. Let's get back to it.
Same principles that we have for decades that have worked quite well. And you talk about volatility, and I think that is in part, we're seeing correlations between the digital asset market and traditional equities markets and bond markets. But I also think that with regulation, we'll probably see reduced volatility because you'll have more participants and sort of tighter spreads between individuals willing to buy and sell these digital assets. So I think it's implementing our core principles, implementing the rules that we found to be very successful and effective, focusing on customer protections, focusing on protecting customer money, but implementing these core principles that are around trading practices, disruptive trading practices, ensuring financial resources so that the platforms can do what they're intended to do.
All right. A June FTC report indicated that since 2021, 575 million of the crypto fraud losses reported to the FTC were about bogus investment opportunities. I referred to some of this in my last questions. But many of these originated on social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Could you talk about the interaction with their platforms, what their role is, and what more could be done on that front? I really don't know what your answer is going to be on this. I just noticed this numbers in my briefings.
Yep, Senator, it's a very difficult area because we don't have a lens into the trading platform, so we're relying on customers, as I stated in my statement. Every case that we brought, 60 enforcement cases, has been brought to us through complaints. We don't have that vision and that lens into the trading platform. So
you're saying the bill would help to give you the transparency into it?
It would provide the authority to the CFTC to regulate markets. And this volatility, the fraud, the manipulation, much of it would probably go away because we now have a regulator, a cop on the beat, and this would deter activity by bad actors. So,
okay. There's a lot of bad actor activity going on social media platforms, as you know. This isn't the only thing. But a cop on the beat would be unique compared to a lot of the things going on. When considering the environmental impacts of the significant...
Whoa. Did you guys just get what Senator Klobuchar just said? A cop on the beat regarding social media? She's now talking about policing of social media. Did you guys catch that comment? That's disgusting, everyone.
There's the CFTC to draft a report within 6 months and report back to this committee and the House Ag Committee in consultation with other U.S. regulators, most notably those that have expertise in the energy space. And I think this is the appropriate approach to this issue. We've all heard the statistics about the amazing amount of energy used to mine coins. I would say that an event occurred last night with Ethereum, which is going to reduce energy consumption, a step in the right direction, but certainly not resolving the problem. And I think at its core, the report will stand as a basic starting point so that we can examine what the issues are, where the energy usage is occurring, and what's the correlation between the energy usage and the outcome, the mining of the tokens. And from there, I think that would lead to future policy discussions, potentially disclosures, and hopefully incentives to move away from carbon-intensive energy sources.
Well, thank you very much. I have a lot of faith in you, Mr. Chairman, so, and look forward to working with Senator Stabenow and Bozeman and others on this. I did want to point out before we turn it back that we have with us the winning pitcher of the congressional softball game, Senator Gillibrand, who got...
Oh my God, you're wasting my time on the winner of the pitcher of the congressional baseball game. My crappy White Sox are in the hunt to beat Cleveland, and you want to talk about Gillibrand's flamethrower of an arm? All right, so real quick, let's get to some action here while she's stroking her ego. Right now, markets are reacting big, everyone. We've got Ethereum down right now, 3.63%. Let's do this. Let's switch it from 1 day and go to 1 hour, and let's see. Yep, since the talks, Ethereum right now down big, 3.59%. Bitcoin, guys, here's the big news. Bitcoin broke under 20,000 right now. So with the talks of what's going on, the markets are feeling the pressure. Bitcoin 19.9. Now let's zoom in on some of our favorites. XRP right now 32.8 cents, down 1.78%. XLM right now 10.2 cents, down 1.3 cents. Hopefully they're done stroking egos. Let's get back to it.
Concerns and encourage American competitiveness, but then why also should we want to promote the U.S. as a leader and an attractive jurisdiction for cryptocurrency companies? What benefit does this bring to every American, even those that aren't engaged in cryptocurrency?
Thanks, Senator. Yeah, for sure. I've heard probably many of the anecdotes you've heard about companies needing to move overseas because of the regulatory uncertainty. I think this bill in many respects is one element of the larger digital asset crypto ecosystem, but it's certainly a huge step forward given the size of the market that you contemplate regulating. And I think with that regulatory certainty, the innovators, the entrepreneurs are going to have more incentives to consider staying within the U.S., raising capital here, and starting their businesses here. So it's the regulatory certainty, it's the understanding that the law will be clear, and they know how it will impact and intersect with their business and not fear something or unknown in the future. To your second point, you know, I view this in many respects like any technological disruption or innovation that's occurred for decades. I mentioned the Grain Futures Act from 100 years ago in my opening statement. It was a different time when our farmers and ranchers were creating futures markets, and that was technological innovation at the time. And here we are 100 years later with a very different technological innovation. But I think it's important at a minimum, despite where the technology may go, and I cannot predict the success or failure of it, but there certainly is demand, there's certainly optimism, and I think there's a vision for it to be implemented into our economy. And when you have those core fundamentals being discussed and being outlined, then I think it's important collectively as elected officials and as regulators, we do what we can to balance customer protections against innovation and supporting the technology.
And if you could describe for us, what would happen if we don't move on this in the next 6 months, if we don't move in the next year? What's the potential there?
So it's always difficult to give an exact timeline to when things may shift within the marketplace. I think, quite frankly, the U.S. does a very good job, you know, and I'll speak only from a financial regulatory position, of balancing the need to move cautiously to ensure that we're embedding the principles that have worked well for our capital markets and our derivatives markets for over 100 years.
Real quick, while he's just filling some hot air, I wanted to get back to the market. Look at this, everyone. Right now on the 1 hour for the heat map, we've got Ethereum down right now to 1518, down 4.58%. Gary Gensler's comments are not helping out right now. We also have Bitcoin falling under that 20,000 support level, at 19,810. So the markets are definitely feeling the pain over this last hour. Let's get back to this.
Certainly a step in the right direction. It's a very positive step, and I think if we continue to do that, we'll be able to preserve these entities, these companies, these entrepreneurs within the U.S.
Fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I want to echo what Senator Klobuchar said. Thank you, Senator Gillibrand, for leading such a great team and a great victory. I have played women's softball, congressional softball, for many years. I was not able to make the game last night.
Okay, here we go. More ego stroking. Okay, so what's happening right now while she's stroking her ego on the Senate softball, baseball crap? Guys, Ethereum taking an absolute beating. I want you to take this message, all right? Gather this message, all right? Ethereum just had the merge that went successful today, everyone. Their biggest project in Ethereum history, making them 99.5% more energy efficient than before. That now has gotten all the energy regulators off Ethereum's back, but they're still down 4.55% in price. So take note here, even the biggest project for one of the biggest cryptos going positively has no effect on the price. Everyone, it's macroeconomic events. It's people like Gary Gensler, these Senate hearing committees, right? This regulation talk that's bringing the markets down right now. All right, let's get back into it here.
And I talked to a lot of colleagues about cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3, and they say, well, is this going to go away? It's here for good. It's part of the world economic community. And the question that we have as a committee right now is, are we going to be part of the solution or are we not? And what is needed so much right now are rules of the road. We just need rules of the road. So market participants, so innovators, so businesses can have basic clarity on how to create their businesses, what level of oversight and accountability will be effective, how to create basic safety and soundness, how to create consumer protection. And you being part of this process has been absolutely essential to getting this bill written and to getting where it is today for the committee. So I'm very, very optimistic. I would like you to continue along with the line that Senator Ernst started about why is this relevant now? This bill takes jurisdiction over the commodities part of cryptocurrencies. Some cryptocurrencies are securities. Digital assets can take many forms. SEC has a regulatory responsibility. CFTC will have a regulatory responsibility. IRS will have a regulatory responsibility. And so will thoughts and ideas on cybersecurity, which I'll address after this question. But I'd like you to talk about is how does this bill fit into the broader framework? Why is getting this bill done now so essential? And why and how does getting this bill done now allow us to build on it to do the rest of the regulatory frameworks, to then go and look at the banking committee and try to do stable coins, go and look at the banking committee to try to get SEC regulation for those digital assets that are securities? Talk about why this piece matters now.
Senator, thanks for the question. You rightfully point out that this is one piece of the puzzle. We all have a role to play. We all have our pieces to contribute to the larger puzzle. I've been lucky to participate in the Principals Working Group, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, other international fora, and this is a big issue. You mentioned stable coins. This is a predominantly prudentially banking regulated issue. The security tokens, there are thousands of security tokens that innovators are creating and that we need to address. There are issues around payments, custody, settlement, so many different elements of this larger digital asset ecosystem that in many respects is interconnected. As much as their own little silo, they're all interconnected. I think this is an important bill because you expressly outline Bitcoin and Ether and commodity tokens. That will be a significant majority of the digital asset marketplace. And I think it will push the conversation forward so that we can continue to have policy around the different areas of the digital asset space.
So again, I don't know if you guys caught that, but again, he mentioned Bitcoin and Ethereum as a commodity. Now, the reason he wants to classify this as a commodity, those are the two big ones. And look, this person talking right now, Chairman, DC Commodity Future Trading Commission. The reason they want Bitcoin and Ethereum underneath the umbrella of the CFTC, think of all the funding they would get being, hey, guess what? We are regulating the top two cryptocurrencies as commodities. So the fight here isn't just for regulation, everyone. This is also for future government funding. That's why the CFTC wants Bitcoin and Ethereum to be listed as commodities. And that's why the SEC is saying, hey, everything else is a security. That's where they're trying to guarantee their future funding.
Fraud, theft, privacy breaches, and other technology-based crimes facilitated through Web3 applications by foreign adversaries is top of mind for me. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you and your agency are undertaking to be ready to address these types of threats, and what needs to be done in the future to ensure security of the commodities market?
Thanks, Senator. You know, cybersecurity is top of mind at the agency right now. We are a financial market regulator that has systemically important registrants. As I mentioned in my earlier responses and in my statement, we have core principles which drive our rules and regulation. The core principle around system safeguards directly relates to cybersecurity. We have to build operational resilience within the institutions, the regulated institutions. Thankfully, the DCCPA addresses this specifically, prescriptively mentions cybersecurity. So we're leveraging the tools, the expertise we have. We understand that we're going to have to up our game because from a market's perspective, the cyber resilience and cyber issues are largely the same. But this technology, specifically the custody element, the how do we hold these tokens and the unique nature of the technology is going to require some deep thinking. It's going to require new hires and new expertise in the space. So those are the areas that I'm concentrated on. Using the resources that the bill provides will be critical to ensure that we can recruit, retain, and build out that infrastructure so that we have a cyber resilient system. As we've seen in the past with Colonial Pipeline or others, digital assets will be a vulnerable point, will be a touch point for bad actors to try to attack the U.S. through different systemically important infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much.
And keep the support, likes, and comments coming, everyone. We're going to be hearing from Denelle Dixon. I'm assuming shortly after this. They're just doing right now the opening questions for the CFTC, and then we're going to hear the panel's snapback, everyone.
What they're doing, including me. There ain't a handful of people in this room right now that really understand what we're talking about. And I've been to hours of seminars and read books, and it's complicated. And we need to help the American people, so thank you. Thank y'all for doing this. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here. Thank you for being accessible and your hard work that you're doing. Some of your counterparts in some of these other agencies could learn from you and your accessibility. But just a few questions. You know, I recently learned that over 90% of all crypto trades are executed outside the United States. Our country dominates, obviously, equity and bond and derivatives trading. Why are we so far behind in this?
Senator, as I was talking to Senator Ernst, it's a great question. I think we are moving at a good clip, but we're certainly not moving as fast as others. And I think we have to balance the need to preserve the financial integrity, the financial resilience that has made our capital and derivatives markets the best in the world, but also making sure that we're giving a clear sense to the marketplace that we're moving forward. There are several jurisdictions around the world which will naturally use this as an opportunity. They think that this is a way to increase economic development so that they're going to either lower standards or lower their sort of regulatory bar so that they have more individuals or institutions coming into their jurisdiction. And that's fair. But I think from a U.S. perspective, given our size, given our legal structure, and given the accountability through enforcement, we can move at a clip that's safe, that's cautious, that's thoughtful, but has to be deliberate. And I agree with you, and I get your sense that we need to move forward. This is a step in the right direction, but we need to continue this conversation and see this through the finish line so that we have that certainty for market participants so that they can start the business there. And that statistic which you named, having that volume greater outside of the U.S. as opposed to inside of the U.S. can be flipped.
You know, other countries are starting their digital currencies, including our biggest adversary, China. What do you think about that? And what is their regulatory system going to look like? Have you read anything on that?
Senator, I certainly recognize that, and I'm very aware of what's going on. There are a number of issues that, or approaches, I would say, that China is taking that I don't think we should or are taking here in the U.S., specifically around privacy issues. But with that, I know the Federal Reserve and the chairman, Chair Powell, is working very carefully and thoughtfully, not unlike what I said earlier, to contemplate the idea of what a digital dollar would look like. It is a balance. It is a lot of technical issues, monetary policy issues, and infrastructure issues that have to be really worked through thoughtfully and comprehensively before we can push that out in either a beta mode or in full. So I think we're moving at the right clip. It's got to be cautious, but we're keeping an eye on the ball, engaging, and moving the conversation forward.
If we were to pass this bill tomorrow, do you have the assets to implement this?
Senator, one of the great elements and provisions of the bill is the user fee, which Senator Bozeman pointed to, the chairwoman did as well. This is a critical component of this bill. So with the user fee that's exclusively focused on the digital platforms, we would be able to implement the bill.
Yeah. How's your relationship with the SEC?
Historically and presently, it's always been very positive. I speak regularly with Chair Gensler, and I know my staff does as well. We have to work together. We are building off a relationship that's decades old. And in order for us to serve customers, taxpayers, and market participants, we have to work together well, and I think we're doing a good job at that.
I think one of our biggest protections in this area is going to be education. People really understand what's.
Oh, am I calling total bullshit right there? Did you guys hear that statement? He said that the CFTC and SEC are working very well together. Seriously, that is the biggest lie out there, as we have publicly seen them step on each other's toes, mostly the SEC stepping on the CFTC's toes. Total BS right there. I'm sorry, they are not working together. And that's why we have the problem that we're in, because we can't even decide what's a security or what's a commodity. Back to the action.
There are a lot of things emerging. I've seen the same sort of ATM machines that you are pointing out. And yeah, this concerns me. I think on the one hand, we have to let individuals make choices. But I think collectively, as policymakers, we have to make sure that the individuals are informed. They're informed with facts, and that they can make the most informed decisions about what they're doing with their capital and how they're allocating it. And that's what concerns me today, is that we're not doing that right now, because this market is operating in the shadows. We do our best at the CFTC to put advisories and customer alerts on our website, but it's simply not enough. We have to leverage states and work with their individuals who are really boots on the ground to get individuals at VFWs, town halls, churches, schools, to get information, to have access information, so that when they go to that ATM, they know what they're doing and they can make the most informed decision. And we're not there right now, but this bill takes a step to accomplish that.
Thank you. And I'm like Senator Gillibrand. People think this is a phase. This is not a phase. This is not going away. And you're at the head of this, and we hope we can help you in any way. We're behind you 100%, and we just want to continue to be educated and marketed the right way and regulated. I think that's going to be a big key. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, Senator, and I agree, that's why we have the legislation. It's our job to make sure that those things are in place. So Senator Smith and then Senator Fisher.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and Ranking Member. And I want to just let you know I appreciate the work that you're doing with this bill to address the regulatory gaps that we have, particularly when we're thinking about digital commodities. It's interesting, along with my colleagues, Senator Brown and Senator Warnock, I have the privilege of sitting on both this committee and the Banking Housing Committee. And in fact, Chair Gensler is testifying in front of the Banking Committee as we speak, which is where I'm going to be going next. Not on this topic specifically. But I do think that this gives us a unique view, an important view, not only of the spot and derivatives markets for digital asset commodities, but also the market overall. So I'd like to dive in a little bit on how this can work together. And I appreciate what you're saying, Chair Benham, about the importance of having a comprehensive approach, and also the fact that, your agency has worked with SEC together for many, many years. But could you just talk in a little bit more detail about how you see with this bill and the needs for regulation and other capacities around digital assets, how you see that working together, coming together.
Well, Senator, it's a good question, and I think as I was pointing out to Senator Gillibrand, this bill is a huge step in the right direction, but there are missing components. There are other parts that we need to address around stable coins, around the securities law, around payments and settlement and whatnot. But I think it creates clarity around the commodity markets and around the definition of what a digital commodity is. And just by virtue of that, and I think the definition is drafted quite well because it very clearly talks about a digital form of personal property. It excludes physical commodities. It excludes securities. And it excludes dollars, or essentially a digital dollar, something that's backed by the U.S. government. So with that framework, we then have at the CFTC a sense of what constitutes a digital commodity. In the inverse, my colleagues across town or at prudential regulators could then use this bill as a marker for how the rest of the patchwork or the puzzle may look. And I think that's extremely helpful in the process of identifying what's a commodity, what's a security, what's a stable coin, and how everything should fit within each different regulator that oversees financial market.
All right, here's the big problem that we got going on right now, and you're not going to hear anything too groundbreaking with this. The big problem we got, though, is crypto has been around for years, everyone. The governments could have tackled this sooner, saving us all of this hassle and time. Now, the XRP case, right? XRP got held back as their price was just roaring. So we've seen government intervention is holding back the actual growth of the crypto industry. Now to get to the heat map, guys, Ethereum just got under $1,500, everyone. Right now, Ethereum sitting at $14.97, down almost 6%. Merge News has done nothing for Ethereum. Bitcoin now down 2%. Under 20,000, guys, we're seeing the pain on Bitcoin, 19,750. Hit the like button, support the channel, share this with others out there that are into crypto. We've got over 200 people watching live.
We have done this before. We have dual registrants from investment advisors to broker-dealers and future commissions merchants. So we're not reinventing the wheel. There's a level of complexity we can certainly figure out in partnership with the private sector, but of course with our sister agency to ensure that we're doing it in the most efficient way, but ultimately the most productive way from a customer protection and market resilience perspective.
So your view is that while there might be some complexity to that, that's complexity that can be addressed through good coordination and good coordination between the agencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As I understand it, the bill takes the regulatory structure for commodities that exists and applies it to digital assets that are being marketed to retail investors. So could you talk about, your agency doesn't work directly with retail investors. So could you talk about how that framework will apply to retail investors and how you can address how that works for retail investors?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Senator, that the majority of our investors, our customers, our market participants are institutional. We do have a fair amount of retail participation in our market. We work closely with the National Futures Association, which is an SRO, which is contemplated in this bill, to make sure that we have boots on the ground, that we have appropriate disclosures. We have the core principles, which I've mentioned a couple times about, preventing contracts that are readily susceptible to manipulation, protecting customers, making sure that information is getting to customers through disclosures. I would say that as you sit on both the banking and this committee, this distinction needs to be drawn, and I've said this before, commodities have a very different disclosure regime and requirement than a security does. The security requirements require, in good faith, this bridging of information gaps between an issuer of a security and an investor. That's because there's management, there's a centralized management, there's a financial statement, any of these things that we see in reports from the SEC, quarterly, annual, or periodic. That doesn't exist on the commodity side. What we have to do is protect markets, make sure markets remain transparent, fair, orderly, and that customers understand market-based risk as they decide how to allocate capital.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Fisher.
And real quick, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I have Denelle Dixon's opening statement here. I've got the PDF of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share that stuff with you. Okay, so if you want the PDF, there was a link on the video I did. At the bottom of this, you're going to see the related files. You could click on that. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to hop on over and I'm going to drop this file in the description so that you could read her opening statement at your leisure. Let's get into it.
Thank you. It's a great question. I think it's important that we have a mutual understanding between regulators, especially the two market regulators, us and the SEC, about how we're going to collectively regulate markets. Regardless of the type of market or the financial asset, there always is an intersection between the two regulators because you're going to have duly registered entities or individuals. So it is very important that we have this mutual understanding in the form of an MOU or just a handshake agreement in certain times, because we need to know what and how we're going to contemplate these different financial assets within the context of the law. That said,
Are you working on an MOU right now?
an MOU, I know, Chairman Gensler and I talk frequently. We understand what may occur within the context of the securities laws if entities were to be registered as securities platforms or securities ICOs. And if there is a situation where we need to work on an MOU type document, I certainly would be open to it and willing to make sure that it works for market participants.
Have you reached out at this point to try and do that? Does Congress have to provide guidance on that? Are you able to do that on your own?
Yeah, we're able to do that. We have several MOUs between the two agencies on enforcement matters or other matters of mutual interest.
Okay. Nebraska passed a law that was introduced by our newest Congressman Mike Flood, when he was in the Nebraska legislature, and it allows digital assets depositories to be created, which have allowed state-chartered banks in Nebraska to offer services to customers who have those digital assets. Nebraska is just the second state to pass that legislation. But as we see these digital assets grow, questions will continue to be raised about how they should be regulated and the role that state regulators play alongside the federal regulators, particularly as it relates to protecting and educating investors, as Senator Tuberville was referring to. Can you discuss your views on that relationship between the state regulators and the CFTC, please?
Thanks, Senator. I would say, as a former state regulator myself, having
And real quick, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I just went to the description of the live stream. So if you go to the live stream, you're going to see in the description, I just added Denelle Dixon's opening statement for you. So when she goes live, we're going to get to her. But I just wanted to let everyone know right now, if you wanted to read her opening statement on your own time, it is now officially in the description of this live stream, which upon its completion will be in the live stream folder for the channel. A quick look at the markets. Bitcoin down big, guys. 19,745. ETH not holding on to 1,500, down 6%. Let's get back to it.
States from registering the entities that the bill contemplates, but what it does do is it preserves states' authority over anti-fraud, which is a critical authority for states' attorney generals to have for bad actors at a local level. So we will continue to use the relationships, the existing relationships we have with state regulators, and understand that they play a critical role in making sure that information and disclosure and education is received by local investors, but also those protections around fraud are preserved.
Have you had any contact with states on at this point in time? Has Nebraska reached out to you, or the other states who may be looking at passing similar laws? Have they contacted you at all on this for any kind of guidance?
So I've spoken with the Alabama State Security Commissioner, and in part because we've known each other for a number of years in my professional capacity and his as well. He's also the president of this association, I said, the National Association of State Securities Regulators. So he may act as the sort of voice for the larger association in each individual state member. I did speak at the annual fly-in they had a few months ago, but I have not heard from Nebraska. I would certainly welcome the opportunity to build a relationship, to talk with them, to learn what they're doing, and to support them with the resources and the expertise we have.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairman Benham, thanks for coming here. Representing the city of Chicago, I'm more familiar with the CFTC than some members, and I think you do a great job. In fact, because of your good work, we've been able to establish global leadership in many areas, particularly when it comes to the mercantile exchange and futures market. People trust it. It has a level of integrity that makes a difference. There is global competition, but we seem to do pretty well in that competition. And the question is whether or not we can establish the same standard of integrity when it comes to this whole crypto world. I was surprised in preparing for this to learn that 1 in 5 Americans has invested in or traded cryptocurrency. Your testimony notes the fact that a significant number of these investors are lower income individuals who took quite a hit recently. It's no wonder that the average American is interested in this. After all, respected investment advisors like Matt Damon and Larry David have told them this is a good investment. Everybody's doing it and everybody's winning. But we know the reality, and you pointed out the reality. That isn't the case when we look at the record. Over the last year, the value of the crypto market has fallen below $1 trillion, losing about 70% of its value. Bitcoin alone has seen its value plummet below $20,000 from a peak of $67,000. In June, Celsius, a crypto platform, suspended customer withdrawals and transfers, filed for bankruptcy. In May, the quote, stable coin, Terra collapsed, resulting in a $300 billion loss across crypto markets. Yet it was marketed as as a stable coin. Don't get me wrong, there is risk and speculation, and it applies to a lot of different circumstances. But lucky for us that cryptocurrencies have not been inextricably tied to our banking system, or a $2 trillion loss would have been felt in a different way. And now we have companies like Fidelity saying they are going to include Bitcoins and cryptocurrency in retirement accounts. If we went through another meltdown as we did this last year with retirement accounts and life savings at stake, it would have a much greater impact. I would say my concern is this. I'm glad we're talking about regulation. We have to.
Now, I'm just going to jump in here. I'm going to give you guys just a smidge of a history. Do you guys remember the housing boom that happened in the United States from 2000 to 2008? Do you know why that happened? Because of all the restrictions from the government that were loosened up to enable more people to get home loans. Now, what happened was a bunch of people defaulted on these home loans, and the taxpayers ate it, right? You guys know about the whole Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac thing, okay? So what he's saying here is, hey, we have all these losses. Oh, if the crypto market went from 2 trillion to 1 trillion, oh, that would rock everyone. That would hurt our markets, blah, blah. You guys caused the housing crash by making it so that banks didn't have to even verify your social security number or any information on your loans. You didn't have to verify your income. There was nothing. No verification loans were the standard in the United States that led to losses in excess of $1 trillion. And let's be real here. When they're saying, hey, we lost $1 trillion in the crypto space, you guys all know as well as I do, there wasn't $1 trillion that was lost. That a lot of times the total value lock, these liquidity pools were faked. In fact, we've learned that most of the liquidity on the Solana chain was faked, and they learned that move from the Ethereum chain. So no, we did not lose $1 trillion in market cap. We lost $1 trillion in fake money floating around. This is a total joke because you guys caused the housing problem through government, right? The government pushed this whole idea of let's just get everyone into housing, crashed the market, and lost real people money.
Hiring, this would be for training, expertise, and this would be with outreach.
What's your current annual budget?
Current annual budget is $320 million.
So you're talking about a substantial infusion through the user fee of $112 million.
$112 million over 3 years. The first year would be about $40 million. So
Really?
Yeah. And
So-
we did calculations based on the rulemakings and some of the reports that are due, and then the engagement with the industry.
Well, I would like to talk to you about that because I honestly believe that you're lowballing it. That if you're serious about regulation of industry where 1 in 5 Americans now has invested and had some risk, and we're now getting into retirement accounts
Yeah.
and 401ks and the like, and the major brokers like Fidelity and others are starting to include this in their plan. There's a lot more exposure and a lot more risk than just a year or two ago.
Senator, I welcome the conversation. We did sort of off-the-cuff analysis based on examinations of who's registered with FinCEN and just doing a survey of markets. This is certainly not a hard number, and you may be right, and I certainly would welcome an upward movement of that funding level, but I did want to come back with some evidence to support a number as opposed to just saying $100 million, which is what I did last time. But time will tell, and I don't know how the market will either consolidate or grow after this bill would be passed. So it's hard for me to give an exact number, but I just wanted to do my best to defend a number that I'm sharing with the committee.
And this number, whatever it may be, is going to be generated from the crypto world in a user fee.
Exactly.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Thune and then Senator Booker.
Thank you, Chairman Stabenow and Ranking Member Bozeman, for holding today's legislative hearing to consider the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. I also want to thank both of you for your leadership on this legislation and on the responsible regulation of digital commodities. Technology continues to transform digital commodities, and it's critical the federal government has the proper tools to regulate this growing market and to provide certainty when it comes to digital commodity platforms, which is why I'm an original co-sponsor of the bill that we're considering today. It would clarify the regulatory uncertainty surrounding cryptocurrencies and give the CFTC explicit authority to establish rules and regulations to oversee digital commodities and establish guardrails for the market, which I think we all agree needs to happen. So I want to thank all the witnesses who are here today for your input. Look forward to working with my colleagues on this committee to advance what I think is very important legislation. Mr. Chairman, in your testimony, you highlighted the regulatory role CFTC has played over the digital asset commodity market in recent years. Could you sort of walk us through, I don't have a lot of time, fairly quickly, through CFTC's experience and successes in regulating digital commodities?
Thanks, Senator. Yeah, we've been overseeing this market through mostly an enforcement mechanism since 2014, utilizing our fraud and manipulation authority. We've brought over 60 enforcement cases, some as large as $1.7 billion, $100 million, $40 million, against some of the largest incumbent crypto firms. We, since 2017, have had listed futures contracts relating to digital assets, Bitcoin, Ether, and others, and we're continuing to see, even in the past few years, native or incumbent crypto firms purchasing CFTC-regulated entities or licensed entities. So the move is swift, it's quick, it's forcing us to learn, to up our game, and to leverage our expertise, and I think that puts us in a good position to implement this bill and oversee the market.
So given that, just what you shared, the CFTC's recent enforcement actions and efforts, what's your response to concerns that the CFTC is not equipped to play the lead regulatory role for digital commodities?
Well, I don't think that statement's really backed by facts. I think if anyone took some time to look at what we've done over the past few years, going back to 2014, I shared with Chairwoman Stabenow some of our enforcement statistics writ large. We're one of the toughest cops on the beat across the globe. We have expertise because of our experience with this technology, and I think with the user fee that's included within the bill, we would be able to leverage that authority, hire the right individuals, train existing individuals, and really hit the ground running and do what we needed to do.
Let me ask again quickly, and I know that you've probably addressed this issue already, but where would you say the United States ranks globally in terms of digital asset and blockchain technology, and if enacted, what effect would this legislation have on U.S. competitiveness in this space?
Senator, naturally, because of the size of our markets, the capital available through venture capital and fundraising and private equity, we're always at the top. But I think there are other jurisdictions that have taken a very aggressive approach to this technology, hoping to sort of capture the innovators within their jurisdiction. As Senator Durbin pointed out, I think that comes with risks, and that's not something I support, moving or arbitraging our regulatory system. I think we do it very well here in the U.S. of moving cautiously and deliberately, but as I said, we have to move forward. I do think this bill, if passed, would create the authority, give regulatory certainty, and I think give incentives to innovators and entrepreneurs to stay here in the U.S. and leverage the venture capital, the private equity, and the legal infrastructure, the enforceability of the law, which really is one of the most important things of all within global jurisdictions, and elevate our status within other countries regarding this technology.
So one of the objectives of the bill, and we all talk about this, is how essential it is that there be strong, robust consumer protections to protect customers in the digital asset marketplace from fraud manipulation. Can you kind of just speak to how this legislation would help build upon the CFTC's already robust customer protection enforcement actions?
Yeah, Senator, it's a great question, but it really is built on multiple layers. It's the core principles, which is reporting, record keeping, it's conflicts of interest, it's cybersecurity through system safeguards, it's prohibition of listing contracts that are susceptible to manipulation. It's this baseline foundational level that pushes us towards writing more prescriptive rules, and then enforcing those rules through inspections, examinations, investigations, and then ultimately, if someone breaks the law, keeping them accountable and making sure that we're deterring future action. So it's a series, it's a layered customer protection regime. It is largely replicating what we do now and what's been very successful for decades. And I have no doubt that this regime that we do in traditional derivatives could be applied as equally and as successfully in digital assets.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. My time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Senator Booker.
Madam Chairwoman, Ranking Member, I'm really grateful for your leadership in this.
Now, real quick, while Booker does his 90 seconds of fluffing and pamping, I'm thinking Booker's going to be the last one for panel number 1, and then we're going to move on to panel number 2. There might be one more person, but I thought Booker should be the last person to talk, so let's get back into it. Maybe he's not talking about congressional baseball right now.
And the commodities, but the technology underlying all of this opens up a whole new realm of possibility for Web3 when it comes to blockchain. We have some real issues and concerns right now that I think this bill addresses. We have seen scams being perpetrated by outright fraudsters taking advantage of eager investors. We've seen risky projects with inadequate disclosures not giving consumers chances to accurately evaluate the assets they're purchasing with their hard-earned money. And we've seen these advertisements, which some of my colleagues have already talked about, promising guaranteed profits and almost seeming like hucksters as they put forward. We don't have significant guardrails right now. We don't have transparency that we need right now, and we need better regulations. And so there's only 3 things to do as Congress. We can do nothing, which would allow a lot of this to continue. There's some people that want to create rules that basically make it illegal or impossible for everyday people to access tokens, strangling a market. We can undermine the strong securities laws and customer protections that already exist in the financial sector, opening floodgates that would enrich a select few, creating chaos and uncertainty for businesses and regular people alike. Or we can do what this bill does, which is dig in with the goal of allowing this space to thrive, for innovation to occur, but also give solid protections that would curb scams, frauds, increase transparency, accountability, and increase the safety and the strength of our financial system. That's why this bill, to me, is so utterly important, and doing nothing is unacceptable. And so I just want you to address some of the criticisms I hear out there, specifically about the CFTC. Some people say that this is just going to be some kind of light touch regulation in the crypto market without the real capacity to hold bad actors accountable and brings stability. Chairman, what do you have to say to those who think the CFTC with this legislation would bring a regulatory touch that would be too light, and how you as chair we'll work with Chairman Ginsler and other commissioners of the SEC to make sure that there's strong regulatory provisions in place.
Thanks, Senator. You know, I said this to the chairman. I could unequivocally say, you know, our rules are based on customer protections. The data, if someone took time, who's drawing this narrative that we're weak or light touch, if they took time to see what the CFTC does, if they took time to examine how our rules are structured and what they're based on, and the success of the markets, which Senator Durbin was pointing out, they would know that we are one of the toughest cops on the beat in the world, and we are known for that. Our enforcement statistics speak for themselves. We're turning 6 times what our budget is every year for the past 10 years. And these are the individuals within the agency that, these are sophisticated contracts too, whether it's swaps, futures, or options. I mentioned a case against a commodity trader. Very, very sophisticated trading strategies, manipulative trading strategies to create some arbitrage or some net benefit between cash and futures markets.
And just because of sake of time, with the extra resources as well, you would be able to do even more significant enforcement as well. I just want to shift to another big criticism that I hear a lot about the energy consumption involved in cryptos. Even though some people are moving away from proof of work, I just want you to touch on that real quick about, obviously President Biden has tried to address this. What would you be able to do as a result of this legislation even more so to deal with this?
Thanks, Senator. You know, I think it's, as a first starting point, the bill is very effective in requiring us to write a report. It requires us to consult and work with other regulators within the U.S. government, specifically those who have expertise in physical energy markets, do a tooth and nail examination of what the energy consumption is, how it relates to the output and the utility of the technology, and then come back to this committee in 6 months with a report of what our recommendations are to either create a disclosure regime or incentives for folks, as you mentioned indirectly, to move away from proof of work to move to proof of stake or other methods to reduce carbon emission consumption.
So the last thing I just want to really cover really quickly with you is some part of the bill, and I've been so grateful to the chairwoman for allowing me to help to shape this. But I'm concerned about equity issues that are out there, the disparities in wealth that we have in this country that are persisting. Women, African Americans, they're overrepresented right now in participating in the world of digital assets, which is concerning given the lack of regulation that we're looking at. But it also is something that I think could actually help to create more opportunity for democratization of wealth in our nation. And so this bill directs the CFTC to examine racial, ethnic, and gender demographics of customers participating in the digital markets and to use that information to inform your rulemaking. Do you want to comment on that provision of the bill real quick for me?
Yeah, Senator, I'm extremely excited about it, and I'm excited, you know, I'm very proud that I created the first Chief Diversity Officer at the CFTC a few months ago. We have moved the Office of Customer Education within our Public Affairs Office. We now have an infrastructure to leverage what the bill requires us to do to have a wider outreach to communities, lower income communities, historically marginalized communities, and get boots on the ground to educate, to inform, to do the outreach so that we understand where these pockets of speculative investors are, where these individuals who are risking capital without being informed about the risks associated with this technology. It's going to be a priority of mine. Certainly look forward to working with you, but I think we're in a good place right now with some actions that have been taken in the past year, and this bill's authority, coupled with the user fee, should really springboard us to get information out to consumers.
Thank you. Damn it, you make Jersey proud. You're not quite Bon Jovi Bruce level, man, but you're climbing the hill. I'm not going to be able to stay for the next panel because I've got a sickle cell work to do. I just want to say thank you, Chairman. The next panel doesn't have quite the Jersey authenticity, but there are some really good folks. And I know there'll be great conversations with you all here. So thank you.
And thank you so much for your input in general on the bill, but specifically on those provisions that are very important.
Yep, like they just said, the next panel is going to be up. And in the next panel, you're going to have Denelle Dixon. They're going to finish up with their comments here, and then they're going to be moving on to the second panel.
Now you're going to be regulating in the spot market versus futures. Can you tell me what your thoughts are in regard to that? Is that going to make a difference for you in a significant way? And does it portend other future regulation in the spot market?
Senator, thanks for the question. I don't think it portends future regulation in the cash market or the spot market. I think, as I've said a few times, this particular commodity market is unique as it relates to traditional agricultural, energy, or metal commodity markets because it's highly speculative and it's retail oriented. And that's why I think we have a very important role to play in this specific commodity market as compared to some more traditional.
So how should this, thank you, so how should this work? I mean, there's going to be multiple agencies now that have a role. What should that look like? Not just your role, but how do you interface with others so we don't end up with one of these bureaucratic mazes that nobody can figure out what's going on or who's responsible for what, which is not only difficult for the providers, but for the consumers.
Sure.
What should it look like in your opinion?
Senator, I think it needs to look like what we do now in traditional financial markets because, and I'll just use our sister market regulator agency, the SEC, as an example, but we have relationships with the banking regulators because we have duly registered entities as well. But we have been forced to work together for the better part of 50 years with them because the registrants, the market participants, have access and intersections with both our markets. They're duly registered as advisors for commodity pools or investment pools. They're duly registered as broker-dealers or future commissions merchants. So we have the framework and the foundation to do exactly what we've been doing for decades in this space, and I have no doubt that we'll be able to do it successfully. There's goodwill, good faith, we can get to it. And I think ultimately the reason why I think it's going to work well and the reason why I think it's worked well is.
And like they just said, Booker said that, hey, he's got to go. The next panel will be coming up soon. The next panel is going to have Denelle Dixon on there. They're just getting through the CFTC part. And the reason is because a lot of this has to do with funding, everyone. That's why Rostin is on here talking. He's saying, hey, if the CFTC is going to be the one regulating, we need funding. So a lot of this right now has to do with the CFTC bill and funding.
That you are coordinating with this legislation.
Senator, I'm mostly working, I have most contact with the SEC and Chairman Gensler because of the relationship we have through our markets. I work closely with all other federal regulators, both from a professional level, it's important to do it, but through the President's Working Group and the Financial Stability Oversight Council. We are working on several projects focused on the digital asset area. President Biden's EO has forced us, thankfully, to work on these issues specifically. We will continue to do it. We don't have any set structure necessarily now because there's a little bit of a vacuum in terms of what regulation might look like. We've seen several bills, most notably on stable coins, some on cash markets, but this, as I said to Senator Gillibrand, is a step in the right direction. It needs to be moved as quickly as possible, one piece of the puzzle, but I think as that puzzle becomes more clear and we see what the landscape is going to be, then we'll be able to credibly move forward as regulators and lay out the plan of how we're going to work together and how we're going to put this out in an effective way.
But who legislatively makes sure that that package of legislation pulling in, all these agencies actually works?
Senator,
who does that versus, various committees of jurisdiction, various agencies, each kind of doing their thing?
Yeah, I would say the best blueprint to look at now, the most recent one is Dodd-Frank and after the financial crisis. This committee played the most important and the sole role in Title VII, which was the derivatives title, but there were multiple titles to the Dodd-Frank bill which affected several financial regulators, which we work currently with.
Yeah, well, not everybody's a fan of Dodd-Frank or the CFPB, so I'm not sure.
I appreciate that, but it's been still a blueprint of how Congress passes the law, multiple jurisdictions, multiple agencies, and then we need to work together to implement the law in an effective way with appropriate oversight on a continual basis.
Well, I do think that coordination is important to get particularly with the complexity of cryptocurrency. And, we're all still trying to understand it, right?
Agree.
One other question, I know the Merck is concerned about, but you have not used the user fee concept before. And obviously, that's something we're very familiar with because of FDA. I serve on ag appropriations, so we deal with that all the time. It has good aspects and has some that aren't as good. What's your thought on now for the first time actually using that user fee concept?
I think structurally, it should not be very difficult to implement. I think it's critically important that the user fee is structured in a way where we have to work with appropriators to set the level of what we can assess in terms of fees. So we won't be able to just assess fees individually or independently. We have to work in coordination, which I think is consistent with most user fees assessed right now. But overall, Senator, I would say it's critically important. We will not be able to do the job the bill requires us to do unless we have the resources to do it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And seeing no further questions from colleagues for Chairman Benham, we want to thank you very much for joining us today. Look forward to continuing to work with you. We'll take a moment to bring up our witnesses, our second panel. We're so pleased that all of you are with us. I will indicate that, that we will see a vote starting shortly, which will just mean you'll see us coming and going. It doesn't mean that Senator Boozman doesn't like what you're saying, or that I don't like what you're saying. That we will be going back and forth, and probably have other colleagues as well. So I don't believe that has started yet. So welcome. Appreciate all of you taking the time to be with us. And
here we go, everyone. This is what you've been waiting for. And don't worry, I'm going to make sure I have a recap video later on today. So if you missed part of this, don't worry, I'll have it shared with you. Let's go, guys.
He has experience in both Congress and the executive branch, having served as an attorney for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Administrative Conference of the United States, and on the staff of the Oversight and Reform Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. So we welcome you. Sheila Warren is the CEO of the Crypto Council for Innovation, a digital asset trade association. And prior to joining CCI, Ms. Warren served as the World Economic Forum's Deputy Global Head of Data, Blockchain, and Digital Assets, with a focus on making the crypto industry more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. So thank you so much for being with us. Christine Parker is Vice President and Deputy General Counsel for Coinbase, the largest US-based cryptocurrency exchange. Ms. Parker recently joined Coinbase from Reed Smith, where she was a partner in the FinTech practice group, and before that, practiced at Sullivan and Cromwell. And she's no stranger to Congress, having worked as counsel to Senator Schumer. We will not hold that against you, so welcome. Denelle Dixon is the CEO of the Stellar Development Foundation, a nonprofit that seeks to create equitable access to global financial systems. Before joining Stellar, Ms. Dixon was the COO of Mozilla and General Counsel and Legal Advisor in Private Equity and Technology. And I'm now going to turn to Senator Boozman for our last introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next bipartisan witness is Dr. Heath Tarbert. Dr. Tarbert is the Chief Legal Officer of Citadel Securities, where he is responsible for the global legal, compliance, surveillance, regulatory affairs, and corporate governance functions for one of the world's leading market makers. Dr. Tarbert served as the 14th Chair and Chief Executive of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission and Vice Chairman of the International Organization of Securities Commission. During his tenure, the CFTC advanced 41 final rules and 21 proposals, 90% of them on a bipartisan basis. The CFTC also set numerous records in enforcement and more than 20 actions supporting liquidity and orderly trading. Before joining the CFTC, Dr. Tarbert was Assistant Secretary of Treasury for International Markets and served as a Supreme Court Clerk, Associate White House Counsel, and Special Counsel to the Senate Banking Committee. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of the witnesses. This is just an outstanding panel. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you.
I know this was a really long live stream before we got to Denelle Dixon, so if anyone out there knows anyone that would be interested in what Denelle Dixon has to say, now's the time to share this.
You would like to give to the committee as well in writing. And so we'll begin with Mr. Phillips. Welcome.
Thank you. Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Boozman, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. I applaud your collaboration and the work of your staff in its development, and am pleased to support this bipartisan bill, which would provide much-needed regulatory oversight of the digital commodities markets. In recent years, crypto assets have grown significantly in usage and prominence in the economy and culture. The expansion can likely be explained not only by the innovativeness of the underlying technology, but also a general hype and narrative that crypto is revolutionizing the financial system. However, practices such as market manipulation, rug pulls, fraud, and outright theft plague crypto markets. According to one estimate, $2.9 billion worth of crypto was stolen in the first 4 months of 2022 alone. These types of problems pose significant risk to retail investors who in some cases invest their life savings into crypto and might reasonably assume that they are protected from these threats by the routine federal regulations that apply to digital assets. These harms occur is because there is regulation for crypto, largely either securities, a plethora of essential retail investors who in some cases invest their life savings into crypto and might reasonably assume that they are protected from these threats by the routine federal regulations that apply to digital assets. These harms occur is because there is regulation for crypto, largely either securities, these harms occur is because there is regulation for crypto, largely either securities, a plethora of essential. The CFTC anti our commodities, exchange and the platforms that list them to be subject to SEC is a commodity, meaning that they apply. Today, Bitcoin % of the crypto market, we lack a regulatory. Further, although some courts have applied legal to declare securities, the case law is in its and courts deem some or most crypto assets commodities, federal regulators would be hamstrung to regulate them. Under these Consumer Protection Act provides right-sized regulatory framework for decentralized digital commodities that list them to be subject and grants the SEC is a commodity, meaning that they apply. Today, Bitcoin % of the crypto market, we lack a regulatory. Further, although some courts have applied legal to declare securities, the case law is in its and courts deem some or most crypto assets commodities, federal regulators would be hamstrung to regulate them. Under these Consumer Protection Act provides right-sized regulatory framework for decentralized digital commodities and grants the CFTC authority to oversee these markets. Most important, while the grants the CFTC regulates, the bill isn't anything that is a security. It would appropriately continue to deem securities with oversight from the SEC. It would implement for digital, including prohibitions listing assets that are susceptible from engaging in fraudulent trading. And these are protections that currently apply to further investors in securities have ready investors in crypto commodities to scour projects' Discord servers for unverifiable information. To a consolidated DCCPA would require crypto to disclose plain language information about from engaging in fraudulent trading. And these are protections that currently apply to further investors in securities have ready investors in crypto commodities to scour projects' Discord servers for unverifiable information. To a consolidated DCCPA would require the CFTC to examine the energy consumption used in connection with the most widely traded crypto commodities and publish those estimates. This require the CFTC to help address the effects of crypto on both climate change and financial inclusion. The bill would require the CFTC to examine the energy consumption used in connection with the most widely traded crypto commodities and publish those estimates. This information could help incentivize token issuers to migrate to more energy-efficient blockchains and miners to utilize cleaner electricity electricity as investors migrate their capital following the environment.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on both the tremendous benefits and opportunities associated with the adoption of digital assets in the United States. I'm grateful for the engagement leadership shown by so many on this committee. There is a pressing need for regulatory clarity that promotes innovation while protecting consumers. The legislation being considered today can provide some of the certainty needed to help spur international economic growth, create jobs, improve financial inclusion, and enhance privacy and security. I'm pleased to represent the Crypto Council, a global alliance of industry leaders across digital assets and the Web3 space. We use an evidence-based approach to support institutions and leaders worldwide who are shaping and encouraging the responsible regulation of this innovation. Over the past 2 decades, my time as an attorney, entrepreneur, product builder, and NGO executive has focused on the intersection of technology, law, diversity and inclusion, civil rights, and Web3. Over the past 6 years, I've worked across 16 countries with leaders to advance the responsible and inclusive adoption of this new technology. Now, I see crypto as this generation's best chance of addressing inequity in current financial and technical systems. Crypto can provide a more equal playing field for people in communities that don't have meaningful access to these systems. And as we shift to a more ownership-based global digital economy, the building of an open and transparent regulatory framework is crucial. The DCCPA is a pivotal step in achieving the clarity and oversight that are greatly needed, and I applaud this committee for its bipartisan work on this legislation. Crypto improves efficiency and accessibility, reduces costs, and removes frictions from financial transactions. Cross-border payments underpinned by blockchains could save about $4 billion a year. For example, remittances comprise a $630 billion market globally, with high fees of 6% according to the World Bank. By contrast, crypto service providers can process remittance payments with fees of 1% to 3%, a significant cost savings to consumers. Crypto also represents an unprecedented opportunity to increase financial equity. A Federal Reserve study found that nearly 20% of Americans have neither access to a bank account nor adequate access to financial services through other means. And this problem is significantly higher among those who are low income, less educated, or racial minorities. This is in part because these groups often don't trust traditional banks, as a recent FDIC survey found. By contrast, a 2021 Morning Consult poll found that in the United States, 37% of the underbanked population and 12% of people without access to financial services reported owning cryptocurrency. An ownership-based model is key to providing meaningful opportunities to these historically excluded populations. In the case of foreign aid, within days of the invasion of Ukraine, crypto was a catalyst and bridge to crucial financial support. Roughly $100 million in crypto donations enabled purchases of medical supplies and essentials before the bulk of foreign aid could arrive. And the reality is that crypto is global by nature. Simply put, other countries are not waiting for the United States to act. The European Union recently came to a landmark political agreement on their markets and crypto assets package. The United Kingdom has set out its plan to make the UK a, quote, global crypto asset technology hub. South Korea's Digital Asset Basic Act is set to be in shape by the first half of 2023. And it is clear that China is already poised to leverage its digital yuan as a tool to achieve its foreign policy goals in emerging markets and beyond. Relatedly, forward-looking regulation is paramount to national security. Financial services have always represented an important lever for the U.S. government, and risks will be heightened if U.S. companies become less predominant in this space. Proactive policymaking now is critical to maintain a competitive position. Of course, in an industry this complex, details are important. It'll be critical to thoroughly study things like decentralized finance or DeFi prior to including them in formal policymaking. It will also be equally important that the SEC, as we've heard, act as a regulatory partner to the CFTC, and that the question, what is a security, is definitively answered through the appropriate legislative process. I was particularly excited to see the report on historically underserved communities and the energy reports included in this proposal. I believe the actual facts that these reports surface will show that crypto can be a tool to support and impact critical policy goals in these spaces. Thank you again for the opportunity to discuss these important questions. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Parker, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me to testify about the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act and the need for a comprehensive regulatory regime for crypto. My name is Christine Parker, and I'm the Vice President and Deputy General Counsel for Regulatory Legal at Coinbase. Prior to joining Coinbase, I was a lawyer in private practice where I focused on commodities, derivatives, and digital assets. I spent years advising clients on the regulatory and compliance obligations associated with Title VII of Dodd-Frank, as well as the Commodities Exchange Act more generally. I also had the pleasure of working for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer for 5 years prior to joining private practice. I believe that we are at a crossroads when it comes to crypto. The US government can either create a regulatory framework that embraces the transformative nature of crypto and protects consumers, or it can impose an unworkable regulatory framework that will push technological innovation and the jobs of the futures overseas, a trend that we are already seeing. I would caution members who are skeptical about crypto that the second path will lead to the unfortunate reality in which retail US investors will continue to access Web3, but will be forced to do so through unregulated foreign companies that are not obligated to comply with the anti-money laundering, consumer protection, and safety standards that define US financial markets. As the largest crypto trading platform in the United States, and the only one that is a US public company, we are committed to the first path. That is why we applaud Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and the other co-sponsors for introducing a bill we believe will create a robust framework for the effective regulation of digital assets. I also want to thank the staff of the committee for their hard work and focus in solving the technological challenges presented in drafting this legislation. The current regulatory environment for crypto is complex and disjointed. At the federal level, the government has relied on laws that have not kept up with the technology. At the state level, laws and regulations for digital assets have emerged in recent years with little consistency across jurisdictions. The bill amends the Commodity Exchange Act to
And real quick for everyone, Denelle Dixon will be the last speaker on this panel. Look for her to come out swinging. She should be the second speaker after Christine Parker.
Country. The bill importantly draws on the CFTC's existing framework for regulating futures and derivatives, which is comprehensive and well understood. And to that point, I note that Coinbase operates a CFTC-regulated DCM, CFTC-regulated exchange, and we are hopefully a few months away from operating our own CFTC-regulated futures commission merchant. The bill defines commodities, digital commodities to include, but critically not limited to, Bitcoin and ETH. The bill does not, however, cut the Gordian knot as to what is or is not a digital asset security. That is one of the fundamental issues that remains unsolved today. What is a digital asset? Is it a currency, a commodity, a security, all of those, or something entirely different? At Coinbase, we employ a rigorous listing process to determine if an asset is legal, compliant, and secure before we list it on our platform. Key to that analysis is whether or not the asset has characteristics that would make it a security under US securities laws. We have approved and currently list 219 assets for trading, and we are confident that they are not securities. However, this process is not scalable across the industry, and it forces Coinbase to reject many assets that we might otherwise lawfully be permitted to list. We believe the bill could be strengthened by further defining digital asset commodities to ensure assets that do not meet the definition of securities are regulated by the CFTC and not by enforcement through the SEC. We urge Congress to draw these distinct lines between the different types of digital assets to ensure they are overseen by the appropriate federal regulator. Statutory clarity would help existing and new market participants confidently offer new innovations to consumers in a safe and reliable way. In sum, Coinbase believes the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act creates a strong foundation for the regulation of digital assets. We understand the bill will continue to evolve, particularly as the full Senate considers the other issues and agencies that intersect with the regulation of digital assets. And we will continue working with all interested parties to pass a law as soon as possible in this important area. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Tarbert, welcome.
Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for inviting me. I dealt with digital assets as CFTC chair, and I'm here today as Chief Legal Officer of Citadel Securities, one of the world's leading market makers. It's great to be back to support the committee's historic work on digital commodities. As I see it, the Digital Commodity Consumer Protection Act achieves three essential goals. Number one, it addresses a critical gap in the CFTC's jurisdiction. While I was CFTC chair, we brought nearly 20 crypto-related enforcement cases to protect market integrity. But we couldn't write any rules to stop bad behavior before it happened. The CFTC just doesn't have that authority. A number of states have attempted to fill the gap, but the patchwork of differing regulatory regimes is simply ill-suited for a national market. That's unfortunately been demonstrated by the so-called crypto winter. Many of the most vulnerable Americans have suffered massive losses as a result of hacks, bankruptcies, and outright fraud. This bill addresses that glaring regulatory gap. It would grant the CFTC authority to directly regulate digital commodity trading. That would help these markets grow responsibly. They'd have the same kinds of regulatory guardrails that have made our other financial markets the envy of the world. We at Citadel Securities are proud of our 20-year track record of reducing cost, increasing transparency, improving resilience, and broadening access in markets here and around the world. With rules of the road in place for digital commodities, Citadel Securities and other traditional players are more likely to get off the sidelines and get on the field. They'd bring real stability to these markets and replace the bucket shops and boiler rooms. Number two, the bill promotes U.S. leadership in digital asset markets. It would help Americans by enhancing customer protection, focusing specifically on abusive trading practices, a lack of transparency, and conflicts of interest. In addition, all platforms would be subject to financial and system safeguard requirements to improve their resilience. An optional self-certification of new exchange products would encourage responsible American innovation. Number three, this bill is designed to stand the test of time. Let's start with the obvious. This is a bipartisan bill, and history teaches that laws with broad bipartisan support are more likely to weather political change. Another enduring feature is the bill's appropriate use of principles-based regulation. The bill would allow reasonable yet flexible compliance with core principles. It would also avoid the loopholes that inevitably come when regulations are too detailed to keep up with markets undergoing rapid change. Relatedly, the bill would supplement the CFTC's new authority with a self-regulatory first line of defense. Finally, the bill recognizes the important contributions of regulators other than the CFTC. It also won't tie Congress's hands on the many other issues digital assets raise for the U.S. financial system. All in all, this bill is a huge step forward. At the same time, I think there are at least three ways the bill could be fine-tuned. First, the committee should refine the definitions of digital commodity brokers and dealers. This is to avoid sweeping in firms that aren't considered broker-dealers and other well-regulated markets. Second, the bill should have safeguards to protect those who trade digital commodities that have been self-certified or otherwise approved, but then are later reclassified as securities. Third, I recognize that when principles needed fleshing out in the past, the CFTC proactively wrote rules or provided guidance. But I think Congress should make its intent crystal clear that the bill doesn't grant a license for reactive rulemaking by enforcement. As the legislation moves ahead, my colleagues and I at Citadel Securities look forward to discussing these and other aspects of the bill. We also look forward to sharing our expertise in improving investor protection, transparency, and market resilience. Let me end by saying, paradoxically, that 2022 looks a lot like 1922. 100 years ago, this very committee helped to create the Grain Futures Act. Passed in September of 1922, it established the Grain Futures Commission, an early forerunner of the CFTC. The problem then was strikingly similar to the one now. Futures in wheat, corn, and other grains emerged as a truly national financial market. But they were subject to a patchwork of conflicting state laws that failed to protect Americans. The answer then is the answer now, a robust yet flexible regulatory framework that provides clarity and coherence for everyone. I therefore applaud the committee and your staff for advancing this critically important initiative, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dixon, welcome.
Good morning, Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me to testify today. I'm so honored to be here, and I look forward to discussing the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. My name is Denelle Dixon, and I am the CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation. Before I speak about the opportunities that are presented by the DCCPA, I'd like to share a bit more about the Stellar Development Foundation and the Stellar Network, and most importantly, the real-world solutions built with this technology. The Stellar Development Foundation, or SDF, was established alongside the Stellar Network in 2014 with the mission of creating equitable access to the global financial system by using the underlying technology presented by Stellar. The Stellar Network is an open, permissionless, decentralized ledger, or a blockchain network, optimized for payments and asset issuance, particularly useful with stablecoins in payments. Today, rather than talking about the things that we read about in the press with respect to trading or speculation, I'd like to highlight a payment service that was built on Stellar, launched in the dead of the crypto winter this summer. In June, MoneyGram, Circle, and a growing number of digital wallets launched a first-of-its-kind global service that enables anyone to convert cash to digital assets without a bank account, without a credit card. This service utilizes the Stellar blockchain and Circle's USDC coin, it's a stable coin, to allow cash funding and payout in different currencies all around the world. The Stellar Network provides the digital rails to make payments fast and secure. USDC provides a truly stable digital asset, and while MoneyGram provides a global network of cash-in and cash-out locations. This is true interoperability with the existing financial system. In practical terms, what this means is that an immigrant farm worker in Michigan or Kansas or California or anywhere in the world can send her hard-earned cash to her family and to her home country without experiencing outsized fees or uncertain wait times. She can walk into a local MoneyGram location, typically a supermarket or a pharmacy, with $100 in cash, and in minutes, from start to finish, she can convert that $100 into virtual dollars in USDC. And that's deposited directly into her digital wallet. On the other side of the transaction, her parents could visit their local MoneyGram location and cash out of their own USDC from their digital wallet that she sent to them into their local fiat currency when they need that. This is available right now and is being used right now. This novel service gives neglected, unbanked, underbanked, and cash-reliant populations a pathway to enter the digital economy. So, let me turn now to the legislation. The DCCPA goes a long way towards allowing the kind of regulatory framework that will offer the opportunity for these types of payment services to flourish. And it also, by identifying the CFTC as the spot market regulator. The agency's history of vetting and approving new products demonstrates it is well suited for this type of responsibility. We also applaud the focus on consumer protection and education and its inclusion of the study on energy consumption related to digital commodities. It is also encouraging to see that this bill sets out a process for listing stablecoins and that it is consistent with the PWG report with payment stablecoins not being included as securities. We agree with that, and they're necessary for payments. Rightfully, the DCCPA has defined a digital commodity while recognizing the SEC's jurisdiction. Unfortunately, it fails to address the fundamental question that plagues this industry and has for far too long. When is a digital asset considered a commodity versus a security? The Howey test does not include a clear definition, and it was not an agency-created rule. The industry desperately needs a definition, and the DCCPA is the perfect vehicle for it. Not all digital assets are created equal. As an example of the challenges we face defining digital assets, I referenced the Minnesota and Iowa state fairs in my written testimony, which require tickets in order to experience the full fair experiences, much like you need digital assets to engage with particular networks and services. We need a practical, principles-based framework that focuses on asset functionality. With an appropriate and clear policy and regulatory framework, digital asset and blockchain have great potential to improve access to financial services for millions of people. I believe that the DCCPA is a consequential step towards creating this vision. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you very much, and very much appreciate all of these suggestions about further ways that we can improve this legislation. So thank you very much. Let me start with Mr. Phillips. One of the important goals, of course, of the legislation is to make sure that we are bringing the trading of digital assets under federal oversight, that we're bringing all of it. And so we know the Securities and Exchange Commission regulates securities, and we want them to do that and want them to do their work, but not all, as we know, of the digital assets are securities. So what are the risks for Congress, or what are the risks for consumers, actually, if Congress does not pass legislation giving the CFTC oversight over digital commodities?
Yes, thank you, Senator. There are so many risks to consumers that we have seen over the past couple of years. Consumers have lost millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars through scams, through rug pulls, through hacks, and this bill would enable the CFTC to write appropriate rules to protect consumers against all of those things. For example, the access to exchange data feeds would allow the CFTC to find market manipulation using technology and enforce the Anti-Fraud and Anti-Manipulation Authority. It would require platforms to provide appropriate disclosures. It would allow the CFTC to write enforceable rules around cybersecurity protections for the various platforms. This bill would do so much to protect customers, and I appreciate the fact that all of these provisions are in the bill.
Thank you very much. Ms. Warren, we know that a large number of individuals, as you've indicated, including those in historically underserved communities, are using and trading crypto right now. And our bill, of course, directs the CFTC to study the racial, ethnic, and gender demographics of traders. Senator Booker already spoke to this, and use data to educate, to really inform around outreach and education during rulemaking efforts, actually. Drawing on your experience in the industry and in the nonprofit sector, do you have recommendations for the CFTC about how to do outreach so that we can really reach all of these customers?
I certainly do, Senator, and thank you for the question. I think it's critically important to begin with community need. I'm the co-founder of a project called the Crypto Research and Design Lab, which uses tech ethnography to center these communities that have been historically underserved or even fully excluded by formal financial and technical systems, to articulate what exactly their needs are and how crypto can be a tool of support and provide the kind of financial access that they so desperately need, both for themselves and their families. I think it's critical that this kind of analysis inform everything from disclosure regimes, which need to be in plain language, very clear, so that consumers can make the risk assessments that they themselves are best qualified to make in determining how crypto can best serve them and their families. So I think that engaging in factual analysis is critically important, but beginning with the communities themselves is of paramount importance. In addition, I think we need to have education that begins focusing on not just crypto itself, but on fundamental and baseline digital literacy. And that is something I think needs to be seen and spread throughout our community college system, our post-secondary in general, but even in secondary schools, to ensure that Americans are prepared for the global digital economy, regardless of their background and regardless of the opportunities that they have through being, from wealthier families or from higher income populations.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dixon, colleagues on the House Financial Services Committee are working on a bill to regulate stablecoins, as we know. How would that legislation interact with our bill, giving the CFTC the authority to regulate digital commodities?
Thank you, Senator. It's such a great opportunity to be able to have these bills work together. Having a clear definition of what truly is a stablecoin is so important. We already see in this bill there's a process for listing stablecoins, but it's really important because a lot of what we read about in the early days of the summer focused on things that were labeled stable coins, but were not one-to-one backed with fiat, didn't have audit requirements, didn't have the transparency that we think is important, not just for American consumers, but also for business who want to leverage these stable coins, as I mentioned in the MoneyGram example. So creating that very clear definition of what is a stable coin, holding those assets in a secured financial depository account, making sure that you can't have, that if you do have around the bank, that there's not going to be a problem for the constituents that choose to get their money out. These are all really, really important pieces that we think need to be addressed, and we see not just the bill in the House, but also the proposal that Senator Gillibrand and Lumens put together with respect to stablecoins and defining stablecoins. We'd love to see the idea that we continue to have innovation in this space, but it is regulated innovation around stablecoins.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and I have numerous other questions, but I'm going to stop at this point. I'm going to go and vote and leave the committee in the capable hands of Senator Boozman, so don't mess it up. There it is.
So I'm getting a little responsibility. That's great. Senator Gillibrand, would you like to go now, or do you want to? This is our star pitcher, so we'll defer to whatever.
Thank you, Senator.
Would you like to go now and then?
Yes,
vote?
and then I'll go vote. Yeah. So I wanted to, Ms. Warren, I wanted to talk a little bit about DeFi, because this is an area where I think we could improve this bill. Right now, for those who are focused on this issue, decentralized finance has enormous opportunity to improve innovation, to work collectively towards creating more financial inclusivity, as many of you have testified about, fewer intermediaries, more opportunities for people of all income levels to engage in the financial system. And while this bill does include decentralized finance in its regulatory framework, I don't know that it is being treated in the way it would need to be treated to actually continue to participate. So I want to talk a little bit more specifically, for the benefit of the staff who are working on the next iteration of this bill, what you would suggest laying out in terms of protocols that would apply and map for decentralized finance better than the definitions right now that seem to be overly broad and encompassing too many things that don't really apply.
Thank you, Senator. I agree. I think that the definition proposed as now is frankly a bit unworkable in terms of how DeFi actually operates. And I think it's important to note that crypto is not a monolith. And so DeFi, I've been in this space full time now for almost 6 years, and DeFi didn't exist when I entered this space as a concept. It was brand new. So we are really at a point where the cutting edge of innovation is reflected in what we're seeing in this space. And the market hasn't even had time to decide which models make sense, let alone settle into parameters and models that are consistent across different kinds of offerings and services here. I echo your sentiment that this is a critically important edge for financial inclusion in our system. It is going to provide, I believe, over time, increasing advantages to those who simply cannot access other forms or financial services because they have been, again, historically underserved, as the report that is named in the DCCPA so aptly it's so aptly named. I think what's also really important is to ensure that DeFi remains in the United States as a locus of innovation. And the concern that I have, which I've shared with you previously, is that we are going to see offshoring of this innovation space in a way that, as our colleagues on the panel have noted, is going to not embed the principles-based frameworks that are so critical to ensure that Americans receive the adequate protections that they need and deserve, let alone the global citizenry that's going to benefit from this innovation. So as a general matter, we do recommend that this is a space that requires a lot of study, requires a lot of focus on what is happening, what is coming, the trajectory here, but also a bit more time for the space to settle a bit before we try to box it into something that may wind up cutting off avenues that could benefit tremendous groups of people.
And can you just explain it a little more in detail, because a lot of people don't understand the difference. So if you have a DeFi protocol that never takes custody of assets, does it need to make sure they're not commingled like a bank or something more in traditional finance spaces? Can you explain the difference and why these definitions, unfortunately, may include and therefore exclude DeFi entirely? To just explain the difference for the committee, particularly for Chairman Boozman and the staff, so they understand why it needs a separate study for this part and to make sure it's not being excluded.
swept up really
Yep.
in these unworkable definitions. So the way that DeFi works is it is basically an immediate pass-through. It enables a precise peer-to-peer connection between two parties that are engaging in a transaction without a centralized intermediary that's in the middle of that.
And then it's software and it's not an entity.
Exactly right.
It's not like a group of people managing an organization. It's a software program.
Right. That's exactly right. It is
a real big distinction that we're going to have to make here, and they're hitting on it, is DeFi versus CeFi and true decentralized finance. There are some chains out there that say they are decentralized, yet their issuance of their primary token can be sometimes attributed as high as 95% centrally released. So we need to determine realistically what is a true stablecoin versus a fake one, and we also have to make a determination of what is real DeFi versus CeFi.
When we think about a code base that is serving a primary financial service function, how ought we to think about regulation there in a way that protects consumers, but again, retains that innovation edge, and most importantly, ensures that a principles-based framework that is grounded in the U.S. historical approach to financial services is underlying all of that.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Mr. Phillips, I want to thank you as well for your leadership and the work you've done with this committee and with my staff on writing portions of this legislation in terms of ideas and thoughtfulness. I want to talk a little bit about the issue that people have concerns about energy use and the way this bill will create a study and a protocol to create better disclosure, perhaps, or other recommendations so that the participants can make informed choices. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that, which other regulatory agencies such as FERC we may ask for information from, and explain how we're doing that and how you think ultimately will help long-term?
Absolutely, Senator. Thank you. So this bill would require the CFTC to conduct a study along with other regulators examining the energy impacts of a variety of digital asset commodities. In addition to studying and creating recommendations for Congress and the agency on how to reduce those energy impacts, it would also require the CFTC to list the energy impacts of a variety of different digital asset commodities so that investors can see those disclosures and make investing decisions based on what they see. If there is a token that has an extremely high energy impact compared to something else that is a similar type of token, it's reasonable to believe that investors would move to the lower energy intensive asset, incentivizing the higher energy ones to reduce their energy impacts by moving to a different blockchain or doing something else, reducing the overall impact of energy usage in the crypto market overall. As for other regulators that the CFTC should speak with in doing this, definitely FERC, which does have oversight of the nation's energy markets, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which I expect would also I would want them to examine the energy impacts of those digital asset securities. And in addition, potentially the bank regulators and FSOC who oversee other parts of the digital asset markets.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have more questions if you want me to filibuster, but if you have questions, it's your turn.
If you want to ask another question, you're
I have
welcome.
one more. Yep.
As long as they don't get mad at you over on the floor.
Oh, well, they might. One more. Ms. Warren, I have one more. I want to talk a little bit about what happened after the days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. People were concerned that cryptocurrency would be used by Russian oligarchs to evade sanctions, but that actually wasn't the story that we heard. It ended up being a very important example of how this industry and blockchain technology can be a solution for families, countries, unstable governments that need resources to get them quickly. I thought Ms. Dixon made some excellent points about remittances and how important that is for a world financial market. I care very deeply about access to capital for communities that are disadvantaged.
Real quick, while they're bringing up talking points, I wanted to highlight the heat map. Check this out, everyone. Ethereum right now down 6.75% in the last 24 hours, under 1,500. Bitcoin is the one feeling a lot of pain right now during this dual hearing. Bitcoin under 20,000, 19.7. Some of our favorites out there, XRP down 2.74%, 32.5. And XLM right now, even with Denelle Dixon talking on the Hill, who had a great opening statement, XLM down 1.78% to 10.2 cents. Let's get back to the hearing.
If the crypto community had not mobilized in response to a specific request from the Ukrainian government, all the way up to the president's office, asking for crypto donations to bridge and serve as a catalyst while the international community could provide the badly needed aid, that the $1 billion of aid that actually has resulted in where we are and the ability of the Ukrainian people to stand up to this brutal invasion. There's no question. Crypto was a bridge. It was a catalyst. It was essential and critical in order to give the international community time to use traditional financial means to provide this kind of capital. And we know, because we can see on what's called a block explorer, where that money went, who it was given to, and also what it was used for. So we know, based on all the accounts that come from the Ukrainian government, this was medical supplies. It was, in some cases, arms. It was just things that were critically, vitally important at that crucial time. In addition, we've seen crypto be a critical tool for activists, those who are working, in some cases, with the U.S. government against rogue states to actually provide, money, whether it's money to get them securely out of a country at times when their lives are in crisis because of political happenings around them. We've seen this all over the place. We've also seen women in times of trouble, and Afghanistan is probably a really great example of this, maybe the best, where in a patriarchal society where when the Taliban came in, they were looking to basically seize and appropriate funds, and the community was using crypto, particularly women were using crypto in a way to shield assets from that seizure, which is critical, and again, provided the ability for people in that country to resist the authoritarian regime that was being pushed upon them. So these are examples that I think are located in other countries, but they are so critical, and they underlie, in my opinion, the nature of crypto and why it is so important, to your point, in times of crisis. And the reality is that here in the United States, we certainly have communities in crisis as well. And so these may not be the examples that are as popular or as noted because they're quieter examples, and they maybe aren't as dramatic in terms of the opposition that's being faced. Nevertheless, there are communities here that also have been unable to get access to basic financial services that are turning to crypto, and the numbers speak for themselves, and we quoted them already. So whether or not you're in an acute situation or a crisis, I do find that preserving the opportunities that this particular innovation represents is of critical importance. And again, grounding that in the principles-based frameworks that underlie the American financial system are also of critical importance.
I just want to thank the entire panel. I appreciate your testimony and the information you're giving to this panel about the urgency and the importance and the benefits of really creating these regulatory frameworks now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, we appreciate the good work that you and your organization are doing in trying to educate the public as to what we're trying to accomplish here. This topic is something that is anything but easy to understand. One of the things that we're hearing is, from some of the other consumer advocacy groups, is that somehow this would erode the SEC's authority to police the crypto market, and the CFTC is ill-prepared to ensure retail consumers are protected. Would you agree our bill specifically defers to the SEC when it comes to those digital assets deemed securities and only looks to provide the CFTC regulatory authority over digital commodities? The other thing that we're hearing along with that is that somehow, they would be underfunded, they wouldn't be able to do this. You might reiterate the importance of user fees, and that would be fine. So again, like I say, those are two of the major things that we're hearing. If you would address that, it would be helpful.
Sure. Thank you, Senator. This bill, as I read it, specifically defers authority over crypto securities to the Securities and Exchange Commission and reserves for the CFTC authority over those assets that are crypto commodities. My understanding is that since introduction, there have been 1 or 2 places where it's been identified that the SEC's authority may be impinged, and in my written testimony, I make recommendations to address that. I want the SEC to retain authority over securities and CFTC authority over commodities. I also think that the CFTC, with this bill, would have the regulatory capacity and expertise to be able to address these markets. The CFTC is an excellent regulator. The commissioners and the chairman are excellent regulators, and I think they have the best interest of customers, crypto customers in mind. As for the underfunding, I think all of our regulators need additional resources. I encourage Congress to, if it enacts this bill, to also increase the CFTC's budget. I do think that the user fees that the CFTC would be able to collect would perhaps make it easier for Congress to increase the budget to a point where the CFTC can appropriately regulate this industry. On the first panel, we heard Chairman Benham mention that he expects that the CFTC would need an increase of $112 million over 3 years. That sounds like an excellent bang for the buck to get these assets appropriately regulated.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Warren, I was going to ask you a question about the DeFi, but I think, I appreciate the discussion that you and Senator Gillibrand, had, and certainly that's something that we're very concerned with getting that right, so we appreciate that. Ms. Parker, your testimony discusses the current regulatory framework under which cryptocurrency exchange operates. Please speak about the various state and federal regulators of Coinbase, where there might be gaps, particularly relating to consumer protection measures, and why it makes sense to provide the CFTC with exclusive mandatory federal regulation of digital commodities as set forth in the bill.
Thanks, Senator. That's a great question. I will say there are many state and federal regulators that regulate Coinbase. One of our big challenges is, particularly with respect to consumer protection, is that it generally falls to the state banking regulators under the money transmitter licenses to carry that mandate. And so it's not so much that we are unregulated in this space or there are gaps in the regulation, it's that it's not consistent across states. And in particular, I would point to our disclosure requirements. Each state has its own set of disclosure requirements for consumers. Not all are tailored to digital assets. And so this bill solves a critical gap in the sense that it would bring in a unitary federal regulator with that would provide a consistent set of consumer protection requirements that would apply equally to all consumers and would do so in a way that's tailored to the nature of the market and the assets. And the CFTC has been active in this space for a number of years, but this regulation fills the gap with respect to commodity spot transactions in the spot market. So we would certainly welcome that role for the CFTC in this space.
Good, thank you. Dr. Tarbert, your testimony raises an important point, how this committee may provide further certainty to market participants who comply with the bill's registration requirements for listing a digital commodity, but somehow subsequently run into an SE threat to reclassify what appears to be a digital commodity as a security. How can we address that problem?
Thank you so much, Senator, and for your leadership on this important issue. I think that is really the key here. Many established market participants and other markets like Citadel Securities are looking for that clarity and coherence. And as you say, one of the issues could be if something is reclassified after the fact, we would want the kind of certainty that comes through a safe harbor or something during the time in which we're trading those instruments, to be able later on to not face civil litigation, other kinds of enforcement actions for a change by the regulator itself.
Very good. Ms. Dixon, again, another thing, and this has been discussed already, but I think it is important because it does come up. It's my understanding the energy consumption required for proof of work consensus mechanism transaction validations can be significant, which is why I'm glad our legislation looks to study the issue. What is your view on measuring energy usage related to various consensus mechanisms in the crypto space?
Thank you so much for the question, Senator Boozman, and thank you for your leadership and that of your staff on this. The environmental and what the bill presupposes about the study that needs to be done with respect to the environmental impact of all the different consensus mechanisms is so important. It's something that we do in lots of other industries to be able to figure out the benefits and the harm that each of the industries or each of the different challenges bring to the United States. All consensus mechanisms are not alike, but importantly, what we can do, and what we're hopeful that this study does, is create a framework for how to measure the carbon output and figure out what we need to do as an industry to even further improve it. We just saw last night, I think it was at 2:34 a.m. In Eastern Time, where Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. That was already a momentous shift from that in terms of demonstrating the increased sustainability for that network by moving to proof of stake. So I think, again, not all consensus mechanisms are created equally, but if we think about a framework, which we've done, by the way, we've engaged PwC to create that kind of framework to consider how you should, and we've done it with respect to the Stellar Network, what pieces of the Stellar Network and what pieces of the transaction should be viewed when you're looking at the sustainability impact as a whole. We welcome that kind of framework. We think that the industry needs that to be able to create consistency and to understand really truly the value and also the potential harm and what we can do to improve on it.
Good. Thank you very much. Madam Chair.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Boozman. Thanks so much to all of you, and we appreciate your testimony. Look forward to continuing to work with you, and also appreciate so much Chairman Benham and his leadership at the CFTC, which is going to be so critical moving forward. We saw last year a lot of volatility in the marketplace, and we have a bill that's going to address that to make digital commodities safer for Americans to use and to trade, and again, investing in and supporting the innovation and the opportunities as well. So I think this is a really important opportunity for us to move forward, and I'm hoping our colleagues will join us on this bipartisan bill so we can get the CFTC to work. And again, thank you. The record will remain open for 5 business days for members to submit additional questions or statements. And without further comment, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right, the meeting may be adjourned, but the coverage here is not adjourning. All right, everyone, what did you think about that? My personal views are Denelle Dixon did an amazing job at honestly plugging Stellar. No shame in her game, as she right away took the stage and said, hey, this is what Stellar can do for all of us. I was shocked. She did a really great job here. Now, the big key takeaways to see from this is that, honestly, we've got a ways to go. A lot of people out there are sitting there going, you know what? How can we talk about laws if we still can't define what is a security, what is a commodity, what's a digital currency? So again, until we figure out, right, the top of the pyramid, which is what are designated under those laws, until we have classifications, I don't know how we can effectively talk about legislation. And that's part of the big problem here within the United States. We've got a lot of back-asswards ways of doing things, especially in Congress. And again, thank you everyone for watching. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of break after this. Is a little longer than what I thought. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a recap video for what happened today. I know this live stream was super long, so you guys know how I do things. I'm going to condense it down into a super tight and neat package, save you all a bunch of time, and I'll make sure I knock that out today. Now, do you guys have any questions for what's going on? Now is the time to do it. We've got the heat map up on the screen, still lots of red. We're moving our way back. Ethereum was down as much as 6.25%. Now they are down 5.8%. But we got ETH under 1,500, Bitcoin under 19.8 right now, sitting at 19,791. Markets are feeling some pain, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you watched. What did you all think of this hearing, and how excited are you, right? You watched a congressional hearing. Wasn't this fun? See, that's the point of this channel. I want to get as many people involved in this, as many people aware of what's going on, while making it fun so that you can digest sometimes the dryness of these proceedings. Honestly, what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes to say your thank yous and your last second questions. Get them in now, because what we're going to do, we're probably going to shut this stream down here. That's what we'll do. We're going to shut the stream down at 12:45. So we're going to give everyone right now 15 minutes. Get your questions, get your comments, get your thanks in, hit the like button, share this stuff with everyone, because guys, we're just getting started here. All right, so now getting back to the comments, Crypto Raider says they only needed to ask Denelle Dixon one question because they know they're going with Stellar. Ooh, Rob the Crypto Hobbyist says make a link to the bill. Yes, Rob, I will definitely do that. Let me add it super quick here. A link to the bill. I'll get that added to the bottom of this live stream when we are done. XRP for me says thanks. I say thank you to you for watching. Yeah, Denelle Dixon, she did a great job plugging Stellar. Now, here are some of the takeaways I'm going to take from this, okay? She's been there twice. Both times she's been in front of Congress, she has not gotten grilled in a negative sense. We've watched some of these hearings before, and thank you, John S., for the donation to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, sir. But what's important here is that she's been invited here twice. And the biggest thing is neither of them have been negative. And on top of it not being negative, because they didn't go after her, okay? On top of this, the important thing is she took this as an opportunity to plug the Stellar program, right? Her opening statement was Stellar, Stellar, Stellar. How many other crypto programs out there are able to say they did that? How many other crypto projects out there are going in this global stage, right? Because this was broadcasted. People were watching all over the world wondering, hey, what's going on? How many people out there get the opportunity? Not many at all. And yes, she did nail it. I totally agree. She did an amazing job with that. We also got a $5 donation from New Anomaly Productions. Thank you much for that. I greatly appreciate it. Now, one of the things brought up, and Crypto Raiders bring it up, should I say institutions are in bed with Ethereum? Yes, that was the lead off of this entire hearing, okay, was that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. And you're going to ask yourself, well, why is it important that they designated Bitcoin and Ethereum as commodities? Okay, look at the heat map on the screen. Underneath Bitcoin, you could see dominance in the market at 38%. For Ethereum, I think it's like 28%, somewhere around there. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, those two are so big in the market that if they fall under the umbrella of the CFTC, they could ask for a lot of money, because they're like, hey, we're going to be regulating the two biggest cryptos in the world. We need funding to make this happen. See, that's why the SEC is calling everything a security right now. The reason they're doing that is because they're saying, hey, there's 20,000 cryptos out there. They're all securities. We need more people. We just recently saw here in the United States, the last bill that was passed brought extra funding for the IRS. Again, this is all about funding. This is all about money and where the money is going to these government institutions, right? They're fighting for the money now. That's why the SEC keeps saying everything's a security. That's why the CFTC says Bitcoin and Ethereum, yep, they're definitely commodities. We want to rule them. You guys, if you get to rule the big ones, you get more money in your budget. One of the things, though, that really bothered me, though, about this hearing was one of the senators out there said, you know, you're only asking for this amount of money. That seems very small. Maybe we should give you more. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, government, no. You don't need to be giving away any more of my money because you've already done plenty of financial damage by, printing it like crazy. So no, we don't need that. All right, let's see. Let's get back to the comments. And again, thank you for the donations. Thank you for the super chats. And yes, this was tons of fun. I had a whole bunch of fun. New Anomaly Production said, hey, this was a bunch of fun. See, isn't it kind of cool? Right? I mean, where else can you say that you watched a congressional hearing and actually thought it was fun and informative? See, that's what I want to do with this channel, everyone. I want to show you that this finance stuff, this crypto wave that we're going through, it's fun. It's not like the boring stock stuff, because stocks do get boring because we know they're manipulated as well. But this crypto stuff, fun and exciting. Any comments, any questions you got, now is the time. And as always, everything that we see in this video is going to be linked in the description below. So I'm going to make sure that I have Denelle's opening statement on there. I'm also going to have a copy of the bill on there as well. Rob the Crypto Hobbyist. And again, guys, seriously, thank you to the channel members out there. Rob the Crypto Hobbyist, super smart guy. So when he posts something in the chat, read it. Dude's pretty smart, man. He sends me some pretty good emails. I like reading it. So thank you, Rob, for that. But Rob the Crypto Hobbyist is here. And Rob says, what, everyone? Let me get to his comment real quick. Do you think that crypto could be seen as commodities at the current time, but change to currency when we get crypto in full use in currency? You know, here's the thing, Rob. Here's the problem. With the United States government, okay, once something is classified, it is very, very hard to reclassify it or unclassify it. I'm gonna bring an analogy to you, okay? For any of my fans out there that are into Dr. Green Thumb, you guys know what I'm talking about, the green stinky, right? Now, the United States has Dr. Green Thumb labeled as like I think it's a class 4 drug, guys. Like with the hardcore narcotics, like we're talking hardcore. Do you know how hard it is for us as a government to reclassify this stuff? Well, I mean, it's actually not really hard. We have to get the politicians out of the way. But that's the problem. Once something is classified, it is very, very hard in the United States to get it reclassified because of all the red tape, because of everyone wanting to get their fingers into it. Because you got to remember, all right, let's use this whole idea of what we're dealing right now, right? The CFTC says, hey, Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. Well, because of that, we need a bunch of money. But what happens if Bitcoin and Ethereum get classified as something else? Then does that mean the CFTC loses their money? See, that's what we have to be careful with. If we overclassify or we do a quick classification just to get legislation through, that is bad in the United States because it is seriously a problem. Class 1, yeah, I always get them backwards. If it's a 1 or a 4, which is Schedule 1 or 4, which is the bad ones. But anyways, that's the idea. If they classify it too much, and that's what we're all worried about with the SEC right now. If the overreach, right? If the initial classification is done, it is very hard to undo it. So hopefully, Rob, that helps you out with your question. Early Harrison says, thank you, Klaus, for your help to further assist the XLM community. You guys, I was just recently in Colorado, exploring the mountains, getting away from everything. I have pictures up on the screen right now. And I gotta be honest, I missed you all. I missed you all. I missed doing this stuff. It was really hard for me to be away. And so, yes, I do love doing this stuff. I'm going to keep bringing the stellar heat. I'm going to keep helping out the stellar and crypto community. And it's all thanks to your support. Let's see. Zodiac Sign says, Coinbase refused to unlock my account. Why is that? I'm kind of curious about that. New Anomaly Production says, yeah, when it was like, it'll be a 140 million, and the crypto dude was like, no, that's 43 million a year. They didn't like that part. Crypto keeps people from being ruled. Yes, especially if it's true decentralized finance. All right, that is the one thing to take away. And that is the other big takeaway is Denelle Dixon said, hey, look. If you're going to have stable coins, we need to determine what is a real stable coin backed 1-to-1 USDC style, or what is a fake stable coin. You know, kind of like what happened with UST and Luna, the algorithmic stable coins, everyone. So even within the stable coin realm, we need better definitions regarding what we're working with. And I think that's the big issue that has us all frustrated right now, is until we determine what's a security, commodity, digital currency, all that kind of stuff, The rest of this seems just to be wasting our time and taxpayer money, and that's where my frustrations come in, because I see the potential in crypto helping out there, but it seems like they really want the big money hands to get involved, and I don't like that. Crypto should be for the people, not for the banks. The banks already have resources. The people don't. Yoki J says, being able to tax crypto will have a huge impact on designation, so I see not many actually being a currency. Yeah, Yoki, I agree with that too. The classification is going to matter, and that's why the IRS now is getting a huge hiring pool, right? The government is like, yo, we need to figure out any way we could squeeze money out of the people. Let's hire more IRS agents. Rob, the crypto hobbyist, chimes in again with us. If you are in the U.S. and get a MoneyGram, hands down, it is the way to go. Zero fees now. Yes, it is 0 fees for a year using Stellar and MoneyGram. All right, Party Farm, Rob, the crypto hobbyist. Oh yeah, that way too. Then you're just converting fiat to XLM straight up. Yep, MoneyGram, great way. For 1 year, no fees, guys. Great way to move money on and off. I am very shocked like that. John S. given a big thumbs up to Rob, the crypto hobbyist. I told you guys, Rob, we've got some great, strong members on this channel. Now, let's just take a quick, broad look at the market. Okay, so now we're rebounding from the lows, everyone, all right? Before we got into the broadcast of this program, Bitcoin was above 20,000. It went under as Gary was talking, and I heard Gary got some egg thrown on his face. I'm going to have to watch that myself. And Ethereum, guys, just got above 1,500, but think about this. The merge went live at about 2:30 this morning Eastern Standard Time, and what effect did the merge have on the price of Ethereum? Now, remember, the merge, all it did for Ethereum, it did not help throughput. It did nothing for gas fees. It did nothing for scalability. All it was a change of proof of work to piece of shit. I mean, proof of stake. I keep screwing it up. All it has to do with is energy consumption, which gets the energy regulators off the Ethereum back. Because remember, the first testimony, one of the first big negative testimonies, all had to do with energy power of Bitcoin and Ethereum. In fact, Ethereum's energy consumption, while they were in the proof of work mechanism, all right, was that of, I think it was like Netherlands, Singapore, something like that. I did the story this morning. You guys are welcome to check it out. Crazy, crazy amount of energy use. So now they've reduced their energy by 99.5%. Good stuff to see. And yes, remember, it is piece of shit proof of stake. Dang it, Klaus. Get it right with Ethereum and what's going on. Guys, I'm going to make the mistake on POS plenty of times going forward with this. Joseph Venny says, proof of stake says we're all thinking. Yeah, here's the thing. All right, proof of stake was a huge movement for Ethereum because it showed it was possible. All right, so from like a crypto standpoint, as us being enthusiasts, we saw that one of the biggest cryptos out there could move their mechanism. Huge thing. Did nothing for the price, though, everyone. Nothing for the price. Rob, the crypto hobbyist, chimes in. They tax Forex earnings or tax. Yep. They're taxing crypto-related earnings, cashing in profits. Holding is not taxed. Here's the other thing. Oh, Rob, in the United States, we also have it where if we hold things on over a year, the rules are different. It becomes a long-term hold. I don't know if it's the same with y'all in Canada, but we do have a lot of that where people are going to be exercising 1 year plus terms to get out of the craziest amount of taxation. Let's see. Anything else that you guys got going on, questions, comment-wise? I'm going to end the stream here super soon. I'm going to end it here in a couple minutes. So get your thanks in, get your questions in now. We're going to be shutting down the stream so that I can do my lunch. M. Campbell says, thanks, Yoki. Yeah, Yoki said, you can run an XRPL node via AWS. So yes, thank you, Yoki, for sharing that with us. Broad look across the market, guys. It is heavily red, everyone. The other thing, all right, so we talked about securities, we've talked about stable coins and all that. The big thing to pay attention to right now in the United States, guys, we got election season coming up. It is going to put a halt to all sorts of legislative processes in the United States. What happens is when our politicians go for this last push for this midterm election that's coming up, you're going to see Congress become a ghost town. Do not expect anything crazy to come out during this election time, because this election here in the United States is so pivotal, all right, that they need to put all their effort into win it. So don't think much is going to be happening on the Hill in terms of regulation. Y chimes in saying hello, Klaus. Hello to you, Y. You have been on this stream like the whole time. I appreciate it. John S says thank you, Klaus. John, thank you again for your super chat, and thank you for the thanks, and thank you all for watching. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to kill my camera. I'm going to give you guys the last few opportunities to say your thank yous. I'm going to be active here on the chat as I start powering down my equipment. It is like 100 degrees in this room. I've got my hoodie on just for contrast against the blue wall, but with all the studio lights going on, it is super, super hot in here, and I have the door closed. So I'm just going to chill out. And again, Jimbo Tango, thank you for chiming in and hanging out with us. For those of you who don't know, we've got quite a few international viewers. Jimbo Tango coming from us from Ireland. We also had someone from Tanzania watching earlier. Cool stuff, guys. International crowd. Yes, it was a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I am going to shut my camera down. I'm going to keep the mic open, keep my chat open. I'll hang out with you guys on a few chats, give you an opportunity to say your thank yous, say your goodbyes. I'm still here, though, chatting away. And yes, I'm still here. I'm just giving everyone a chance to say goodbye, answer or ask their questions in the chat. We still got over 150 people watching the live stream, guys. This was one of the best ones. Yep, it was the best one we've ever had. A big thank you to Joseph, too. Joseph was chiming in with us the whole thing. Yoki J says, thank you. Rob the Crypto Hobby says, keep up the good work. Rob, it's because of you guys that I like to do this. Jock chiming in from another international location in the Caribbean, hanging out with us. Caribbean area, I'll say it that way. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And again, remember, I'm going to have this in the live stream folder. I'm also going to do a summary video for you guys all later today, so be on the lookout for that. And make sure you hit the like button, because this is going to help this live stream get shared with a whole bunch of people out there. But again, get your questions in the chat. I'm going to be signing off here shortly. And that's right, how can I forget the fans from Germany? Fred Powell chiming in from Germany. We had Androy Sanjin chiming in with us from Germany as well. Robert Melvin chimes in. Klaus, great job as usual. Can't wait to see your take on the Gensler hearing, guys. I am going to have to do that. Yep, I'm going to have to check out the Gensler thing, because I heard he got egg in his face. Rob, Crypto Hobbyist, has got to go. Rob, I always appreciate you stopping by, kind sir. Everyone, what did you think of the hearing today? Let me know in the comments. Get your thanks in. We're going to be signing off here at 12:52. We got more people chiming in with locations. We got Maui in the house. Aloha, kind sir. And again, the big highlights for those of you that are just chiming in, don't worry. This live stream will be in the folder as soon as this is done, so you're welcome to re-watch it if you like. Mahalo, kind sir. But the big takeaway is this, is Denelle Dixon saying, hey, Stellar is there. It's usable, low energy, safe, secure. It can be used for CBDC. She plugged that several times. We also heard Denelle Dixon telling us, hey, we got to determine what's a real stablecoin versus a fake stablecoin. A real one being one-to-one backed by whatever country's currency it is. And in this case, it is the US dollar. A fake stablecoin being something like UST, you know, a algorithmic-based stablecoin. Aurora M chiming in from Australia. Good day, mate. Yeah, there we go. That was my crappy Australian accent for you. You guys have done an amazing job. We're going to shut the stream down at 12:52 Eastern Standard Time, so you got 2 more minutes. Get your questions in, get your goodbyes, get your hellos in, get the thumbs up in, get the thanks in. I'll be here typing and listening. All right, everyone, I'm signing off on the mic, but I'll still be here in the chat to say my goodbyes. So audio-wise, goodbye from Klaus from the Crypto with Klaus channel.